My former high school teacher asked me out on a date now that I'm in college, and after getting a few text messages from him, I'm kind of considering taking the dive and going for it, but I'm not sure if this is going to be weird or not, and I don't know if this is a big red flag, because right now I just don't know what to do. Welcome back to Am I the Jerk? Bro, this is a weird first one. The original poster literally is getting asked out by their former high school teacher. Like, yeah, they're an adult and they're 20 years old, but it's still like a very sketchy situation. So enjoy this first one. It is definitely a little bit weird. Subscribe today to Am I the Jerk if you haven't already, and click the bell to turn on notifications. Let's get started. Okay, to start things off, and just so people aren't freaked out, I'm a 20-year-old female and I'm a junior in college. I recently went back to my hometown, which is like an hour away from campus, and I was out at a bar with some of my friends. And before anyone says it, yes, I know I'm under 21 years of age. Please don't focus on that part, like it really doesn't matter. Now, while I was there, I ran into one of my old high school teachers. And for the sake of the story, I'll just call him Mark. He's probably in his late 30s, like maybe 35 or older, and I haven't really seen him since graduating high school a couple of years ago. Well, needless to say, Mark recognized me right away. We talked for a while, we caught up for a bit, and before leaving, we exchanged numbers. Now, at the time, it didn't seem weird to me because it felt more like an old teacher-student catching up now that I'm an adult. But over the last few days, he's been texting me pretty regularly and has even started asking me out one-on-one. Nothing explicitly creepy or spicy, if you know what I mean, but definitely actual dating interest. And now I'm really conflicted. Part of me thinks, well, I'm an adult, he's single as far as I know, and we didn't have any relationships while I was in school, obviously, but another part of me feels weird about the fact that he used to be my teacher. I genuinely can't tell if this is one of those situations that only feels weird because the former teacher-student dynamic, or if this is actually a red flag and I should avoid it entirely. So would it be considered inappropriate or weird to go on a date with this guy? And if you were me, would you go on a date or just shut it down right now? Because at this point, I'm not sure what to do. Okay, let me spell it out for you because obviously you're confused. Bro, this is so weird. There's no excuse, dude. You don't date former students, especially if you're, I don't know, 15 years older than them. Like, what are we talking about? That is way too big of an age gap. If the original poster was within even 6 years of their age, like if she was 29 and he was 35, I would be like, okay, whatever, you guys can date, it's totally fine. But this guy was your school teacher and he's 15 years older than you. That's nearly 2 decades, bro, and that is way too big of an age difference. And yes, I know someone's gonna comment and be like, but we made it work, and sure, you made it work, but that doesn't mean that everybody can make it work, especially when it's someone that used to teach you in high school. I don't know, that's really weird. That really raises a lot of red flags for me. So no, I don't think you should go on a date with this guy. I think it would be very weird and just completely wrong to make that happen. And in my opinion, I think it would be way better to find literally anybody else to go on a date with, because in my opinion, this is wildly inappropriate. If you like Am I the Jerk and what we're doing over here, please check out Am I the Genius. It's going to be linked down below in the description. Just click and go ahead and subscribe to them. And also, if you have your own stories you want to submit, go to AmITheJerk.com/submit if you want to submit your own stories. We're reading them all the time and we're picking out the best ones, so trust me, we would love to hear what you have to say. An entitled old woman literally scares my baby in the changing room after using the hand dryer despite the fact that I asked her not to, putting me in a position that really was unfair, and honestly, it pissed me off. Here's what happened. Okay, so today I brought my 1-year-old to the grocery store with me. I don't normally do this because she is both a runner and a track star, and because she attracts a ton of attention from the pre-deceased that I really just can't deal with on most days. A lot of getting right in her face, touching of cheeks and feet, and just bizarre comments about not looking like a little girl. All because I put her in plain clothing and I don't put bows in her hair. Anyways, during the trip, I take her to the women's bathroom for a change, and it's one of the echoey tiled ones with several stalls and a changing table just right out in the open next to the sinks. And this is absolutely not ideal, since I tried to avoid flashing her blindingly pale baby cheeks to the wider public when I can, but it's either here or bent over the trunk of my car. So play ball, we'll see what happens. I'm just about done wiping her down when I feel what I can only describe as a presence behind me, a ghoulish specter lingering just out of my peripheral. I turn around to see a woman in her 80s with that open-mouthed dead fish expression, her eyes floating around the room. Her hands are held T-Rex style in front of her belly, clearly still wet having just been washed. Her eyes then settle on something near the wall next to me, and I look as well. And it's the stupid hand dryer. The ancient mechanical beast ready to shatter eardrums is less than 2 feet from my baby's head. I'm doing the math. I'm running the numbers. I know what will happen if this woman runs that hand dryer right now. I mean, wouldn't any logical person person, even someone with no human baby experience knows that, hey, they probably don't vibe with loud, startling noises 2 feet away from their newly formed ears. She then steps forward and I say quickly, can you please just wait a minute? I'm almost done. She's scared of the dryer. Her dead fish expression changes slightly, like she forgot other people exist. It takes a moment for her to register that I've spoken to her, then another to process what I've said. Her eyes then narrow and her thin lips purse. Her brow furrows in a mixture of confusion and disgust. She then looks at me and says, but my hands are wet. And it's like, dude, are you kidding me? My hands are wet? At 80 years of age, her own logical solution to wet hands is a hand dryer 20 inches from a baby's head. And how dare I insinuate that she should wait a single second to use it? It's like, my God, get a paper towel, wipe them on your pants, shake them vigorously, wait less than a minute for me to finish changing the baby, and then use it for the next 2 days straight for all I care. Before I can even respond, she has shoved forward and thrust her hands under the dryer, which predictably erupts into a sonic boom of hot air that bounces off the crappy tile in spectacular fashion. Equally predictable, my baby looks at me in startled surprise and then starts bawling, her little legs bicycling as I try to fasten the tabs of the diaper and get the crap out of there. Well, the woman then looks at my baby's tears in surprise, like she's genuinely shocked that her actions have consequences and that I didn't tell her this exact outcome would happen. She uses the dryer for approximately 8 seconds, shakes her still wet hands, and then bails out of the bathroom. Well, against my polite upbringing, I yell out thanks a lot as she scuttles out the door. I finish the change and bring my crying baby out of the bathroom, and then have to spend the next couple of minutes by our cart soothing her. Well, once again, I feel that same pressure behind me, and I turn around to see that same old woman standing by the scratch-off lotto ticket machine, glaring at me and sucking her teeth, as if I was the one that personally had told her that butterscotch candies weren't that great, and that I was glad they canceled MASH. I assume that I ruined her Thursday by existing in public with a small human being and asking her to put her needs aside for a maximum of 20 seconds so she didn't scare the crap out of my baby. I guess that's my fault at the end of the day because clearly I was asking way too much. Wow, that is some seriously entitled behavior. I hate people like this. I don't know about anyone else, but if I see a baby on like a changing station, the last thing I'm gonna do is make any noise, and I'm definitely not gonna use the hand dryer after the parent's like, hey, give me like 1 second. I would just wipe my hands on my pants or use like, I don't know, a paper towel and get out of there, dude. Like, I do not want to be the reason that baby freaks out. So yeah, this old decrepit husk of a person is a piece of garbage, and I am so sorry you had to deal with that. Am I overreacting for refusing to let my sister move in with me, especially after what I found out from one of her friends? Because they basically detailed out that my sister has ulterior motives with moving in with me, and it's kind of making me second guess pretty much everything about this. And at this point, I don't know if I'm making a mistake or not. Here's what's currently going on. Okay, so my older sister recently got kicked out by her boyfriend and actually asked if she could stay with me for a couple of weeks. I felt bad because she has nowhere else to go, so I agreed to do so. A few days before she was supposed to move in, one of her friends messaged me asking if I was sure I wanted her staying with me. I asked them why, and apparently during a girls' night, my sister admitted that she's jealous of my life and said that she's tired of always being the mess of the family while I get everything. Now, at first, I just brushed it off, but then her friend sent screenshots of messages where my sister joked about how if she moved in with me, she could finally steal one thing from my life. Someone even replied asking if she meant my apartment, and she responded by saying, oh, maybe her man too. Now, the problem is, my boyfriend and sister have always been weirdly close. Nothing obvious, but enough to make me uncomfortable sometimes. Like inside jokes, random late night replies to each other's stories, and him defending her constantly even when she's wrong. When I confronted my sister, she said it was obviously a joke, and then accused me of thinking that she's some evil villain. My boyfriend says I'm being paranoid and heartless for refusing to help family during a hard time. But honestly, the whole thing just feels really off. And now I don't even want her near my relationship or near my home. So am I really overreacting? Because these messages have kind of freaked me out and I'm not sure where to go from here. Okay, in my opinion, if I had a sibling who was like saying these kind of things on screenshots, I would probably confront them about it and be like, is any of this true? Like, do you really want to try and steal my man or like steal something from my life? Because these screenshots say that you are going to do that, and I really need to know if that's going to happen, because that's going to determine if you're actually going to live with me. Like, either these are real messages or they're fake. Like, I can't imagine why anybody's friends would be like, hey, your sister's kind of a psychopath, unless they had like some weird grudge against them. Like, it would be very easy for them to pull up any direct messages or like some text messages and be like, okay, here's all of my messages. No, these messages are fake, like they're nowhere to be found or something like that. But if you find any kind of like defensive nature or resistance to her just showing you her phone and like proving that, yeah, I'm innocent, then in my opinion, she's probably guilty. Because like seriously, like what do these people gain from messaging you specifically, knowing exactly who you are and knowing that you are this person's sister and warning you about something that they just made up? Like there's got to be some shred of truth here that might actually lead to her wanting to like, I don't know, ruin your life or something like that. Also, in my opinion, dude, I think it's super weird that your boyfriend's that close with your sister. Like I get it, like you can totally be friends with someone and it won't be that big of a deal, but this seems like it's a little bit further than it should be. And I think maybe if these messages are true, then yeah, she probably wants to steal your man from you. She's obviously jealous of the life you've built and she's like, oh, I can't wait to just knock her down a peg or two. It's like tall poppy syndrome. Like, what are we doing right now? So no, you're not overreacting. Like, I think I would also be very hesitant of letting like any of my siblings move in if this is really how they felt about me. Because you're going out of your way to try and help her out and like, I don't know, give her a leg up after getting kicked out of her place and breaking up with her boyfriend. Like that really is a very dire situation and you're trying to be a good sibling. So if she really feels that way about you, then I think she's got to find some other living arrangement because that would definitely never work for me. Am I the jerk for supposedly abandoning my girlfriend's friends in a foreign area after they literally walked out of the nightclub we were spending time at, all without grabbing the address of the next place we're going to? Because right now my girlfriend is pissed off at me and really has blown up on me about this. And I'm honestly not sure if I'm the jerk in this situation because I just don't know what to do. Here's some context just to kind of give you an idea of what's going on. Okay, so my girlfriend had a class prom ceremony and an after party at a nightclub. She invited 2 guy friends from Prague because she used to live there and because they were her only friends there. Now, before I even knew that they were coming, I had already planned a pregame at a nearby bar with my own friends before heading to the club. At the ceremony, I tried talking to one of her friends, but it was honestly like talking to a brick wall. Later on, my girlfriend and her class got on a party bus that guests weren't allowed on, so she asked me to take her 2 friends to the pregame while she was gone. I said yes and that I was happy to do so because I wanted to make her guests feel accommodated. I figured if they spoke to some of my friends, they might open up just a little bit. Earlier that day, I also found out my cousin who lives all the way in the United States, who I only see like every few years, was in town with her boyfriend. So I invited them to the same bar and I told my girlfriend's friends, and I apologized in advance, that I'd probably be spending more time talking to my cousin because I rarely get to see her. The bar was also full of my friends who were all welcoming and tried to include them. But at the bar though, her friends barely spoke a word to any of my friends. Instead, they looked at their phones and spoke Czech to each other the entire time. Even when my friends took them to get food, they tried to make conversation, but were also given the brick wall treatment. After a while, they told me they were leaving early to go to the club while the rest of us planned to stay for like maybe another 30 minutes or something like that. The venue was also only like a 3-minute walk away, maybe 200 meters, so I just said goodbye and I told them that I'd see them soon. And I assumed they knew where they were going because why on earth would they leave without an address? Well, lo and behold, they got lost and they tried calling me, but my phone was on silent, so I completely missed it. They called my girlfriend instead, and she then called me and started yelling at me over the phone, calling me an idiot and a jerk for leaving them alone in a foreign country. Now, I argue that I genuinely thought they'd be fine on such a short walk and that I didn't want to leave my cousin so soon. Also, I understand that they were in a foreign country, but they were 2 fairly large 18-year-olds who I'd assume are smart enough to type in an address in like Google and then just walk for like 3 minutes to get there. But still, I'm not sure if they even had the address when they left. She then said they were my responsibility and that I'm supposed to look after them. And with this, she told me not to come to the after party. Well, I went anyways because I wanted to fix things, but she just brushed me off whenever I tried to explain myself. Eventually, I got her to talk to me, and I tried explaining myself, but she just said that she didn't really care. Well, at this point, I was frustrated, so I raised my voice and I yelled, "That's my family." But you know what? She just walked away from me. After that, I just started collecting my things to leave, but she stopped me and asked how I could abandon her on her prom night. In the end, we both apologized, but I'm still wondering whether I was the jerk or not in this situation because it's honestly still bothering me and I just don't know what to do now. Okay, first off, I don't think you're the jerk at all. Like, you really did everything you could to welcome these people in and be like, hey, have fun with us. Let's get to know each other. This is my girlfriend. You're friends with her. Like, we should have something in common. And I'm assuming these people know English or like they know the language you're speaking because otherwise, why would they follow you along? But seriously, I don't think there's some like, I don't know, language barrier stopping them from enjoying themselves or at least like trying to get to know the people around them because the original poster literally gave them every opportunity to open up and be more like, I don't know, friends friendly and like inviting in general. And even his friends were trying to do the same thing. Like, I mean, what do you want at that point? You can either go along with it and be like, okay, I'll make some new friends or something like that. Or you can stand on the sidelines and be a weirdo and be like, wow, we're just gonna leave. By the way, we don't have any address, so we're gonna get lost. Like, my God, that is a choice, my friend. You literally walked out without an address and then you're trying to be like, oh my gosh, we got abandoned. Like, nah, man, I could have walked you over there. It's 3 minutes. Literally, it's down the street. Like, what are we doing? So no, I don't think you're the jerk. Like, I understand where your girlfriend's coming from, but she clearly doesn't understand her friends well enough because they should have been more responsible for themselves. Like, they're adults, they're 18 years old. Like, at that point in life, you really should know how to take care of yourself and especially use like, I don't know, Google Maps or some kind of map service and be like, oh, where is that place? Let me get the address. Or like, I don't know, use logic, because this is a completely avoidable problem that they put themselves into and somehow you got blamed for it. Like, that's the part that's really annoying to me. So to that extent, I don't think you're the jerk at all, and I think your girlfriend's friends are incredibly stupid. My entitled cousin is constantly chronically late, but after this last time when we invited her to go hiking, I decided to move along with my hike instead of waiting for her, causing her to melt down in a way that truly like shifted the blame onto me in some way and made me seem like the bad guy, despite the fact that she just can't be on time. And now I'm really frustrated, I'm pissed off about this, and I just don't know what to do about it. Here's what's happening. I'm a 24-year-old female, and my other cousin, who's also 24, planned together a hiking trip and invited our other cousins. Nobody was really interested until the day before, when one cousin, who is a 20-year-old female, suddenly decided that she wanted to come along too. Now for context, this cousin is chronically late. She's unreliable and tends to reject every solution offered to her. We've had issues before where she's delayed plans last minute, then later changed her version of events to make it seem like she wasn't the problem. She also often expects other people to accommodate her or pay extra costs that literally were caused by her lateness, all because she's unemployed, which as a side note, she's refused to go back to school or even just take a weekend job. Now, because this hike involved 3 buses, including a final bus that only comes like once an hour, I repeatedly told her the only really important thing here is to be on time. We suggested she stay over the night before or just get an Uber, but she refused to do both of those things. We sent her exact bus times and told her to get an earlier one because buses are unreliable. And this is where I explicitly told her, hey, if you're late, I will leave without you. Well, on the day of, guess what? She was late anyways. When I asked how she expected to make it on time, she basically admitted she never thought that we would actually be on time in the first place. She still traveled to the final bus stop to try and meet us, and I was even willing to like shorten the hiking route so that we could meet her 20 minutes into the trail instead of waiting an hour at the station, but she refused to do so because she didn't want to hike alone. She also rejected other compromises and became passive-aggressive, blaming me for the situation and demanding that we wait for her without apologizing. Eventually, I asked her, well, what do you want me to do about it? And she said to me, well, I might as well just go home. And honestly, you know what? At that point, I just agreed with her. And now I feel completely exhausted, constantly accommodating someone who ignores every effort made to help them. I don't think leaving fixed anything, but I also don't think I was wrong not to delay everyone else's day just for her. So am I really the jerk for like leaving on time? Because I'm honestly very frustrated and I just don't know what to do about this anymore. I can't stand people who are late like this, dude. That is so annoying. First off, you're not the jerk. Like, let's just get that out of the way. You had plans, you knew exactly what you were gonna do, and this person basically just drags their heels and says, oh, come on, I just want to ruin your plans. Please let me ruin your plans by being late and making you accommodate me. Come on, man, what's the big deal? Like, my God, I can't stand people who act like this. They literally ruin plans by not being on time and then expect you to change everything just to make them happy. Like, did she really try to be like, this is your fault, I'm blaming you for this situation? Like, bro, I was on time, dude. What do you want? I can't just wait here another hour just because you can't be like in the spot we told you to be at. Like, almost anything could have been forgivable except for not being on time, especially when the bus shows up like what, once an hour? Like, this is so blatant and so disrespectful, it's not even funny. And it honestly is very telling that it's like, yeah, no wonder she doesn't have a job. She probably would never show up on time and somehow blame her boss for it. Like, holy crap, she needs to get her priorities figured out. So no, you're not the jerk. This lady sucks. I think it's absolutely unacceptable the way she's acting. And if you do decide to invite her again to something like this in the future, which I would never do personally, I think it is crucial that you spell it out precisely that you are not going to wait for her. And if she expects some kind of special accommodation all because she can't show up on time, then she's going to be sorely mistaken and probably really hate her life. Would I be overreacting if I got my friend's sister in trouble for literally posting pictures of dead people on her Instagram feed as she works at a morgue and is basically using her Instagram in a way that is inappropriate? Because right now this is all really starting to upset me and I'm just not sure what to do from here. Okay, so my friend's sister is a worker at the morgue. I didn't really think anything of it when my sister told me, but soon I discover via another friend that this girl posts several, and I mean several pictures of, well, deceased people and animals on her personal Instagram. Her only ethic is that she does not post the face, but still the pictures and videos disturb me for weeks. And these are not like educational photos or videos either. In fact, only one post out of all of them contained any kind of like academic information, and most of them contain edgy music and filters over them. There's also a picture where she spread like a skin tightening chemical on her face, just so you can see like the veins of the person, but in this case, it was just for like aesthetic. Like there's even just straight up cat heads on her feed, and no, I'm not joking about this, like I really wish I was. I let it go for almost a year and her account was still active. But everything changed after I went to my first funeral. My great aunt died and it was horrible. I won't tell you too many details, but the morgue people mistreated her body, and during the funeral, when we called them to ask why they'd leave her looking so graphic, the worker showed up full of excuses and opened up her nose with a metal tool in front of my mom and dad, trying to show them like what the problem was. It was really just unclean, it was horrible, and I found the entire situation deeply disrespectful and unsettling. I simply cannot get the image out of my head, and I wish that I could. I mean, if I could screw over even one of these morgue idiots, then I would do it. And that's when my train of thought started thinking about trying to get in contact with where the previous girl works. I wouldn't want my great aunt being posted while deceased, and I'm pretty sure none of the people there would have wanted to end up on an Instagram account as an instrument to be like gothic and edgy. So would I be a petty idiot for like reporting this chick or like getting upset and saying something about it? Like, would this be an overreaction of some kind? Because right now I don't know what to do. Okay, holy crap, this is like a huge invasion of privacy. Like, you really cannot do that. That is so disrespectful. Like, across the board, I don't care what the excuse is. Even if it's like educational, like, dude, you probably need the consent of the family to make that happen. So no, you wouldn't be the jerk, you wouldn't be overreacting by reporting her, because that is really inappropriate. And I think that would be the right thing to do considering the circumstances. My entitled manager claims that I'm stealing company's time and that she'll get me fired if I don't work the exact hours that I'm supposed to work. And despite the fact that she is literally just filling in and covering my manager who's away on maternity leave, she still says that she'll get me fired if I disobey her, forcing me to go to extreme lengths just to get revenge and get her removed. And I've honestly never felt better about any situation at work in my life, because this lady got kicked out of my department faster than she had time to try and get back at me. Here's how I did it. Okay, so I used to work in an office in a trading department. The manager was super chill and she didn't really care much about my schedule and hours that I was doing, just as long as I did the hours my contract said and I didn't really mess around. I used to come in at around 7:30 in the morning every single day. I didn't start work until about 8 o'clock, but I would come in, say hello to a few people, make myself a cup of tea, maybe have a quick chat with someone, and then I would start working at 7:50 in the morning, which is still, by the way, 10 minutes before my start time. Now, I should finish my work by about 4:30 in the afternoon, but quite often I would stay until about 4:45, or sometimes go home at 4 o'clock. But the following day, I would stay longer, so my hours in a working week would still add to what they're supposed to be. Well, my awesome manager went on maternity leave, and they gave us some jerk wannabe manager who hadn't had a clue about us or what we did at our job. And because my manager was away, we all had to report to this jerk pretty much every day. And trust me, she hated us. For some weird reason, she hated our department and everybody in it, even though she never said why. Well, very quickly, she realized I was doing weird hours and pulled me into the office. She started saying all this crap on how I'm stealing company's time and money, how I'm unprofessional, and how she's gonna put her foot down and make me work properly. You know, whatever that means. Now, I tried to listen to her and asked her questions, but she started to say one more word and you are out. And it's like, oh, okay, you're a massive jerk, but great. So I ask, okay, what is it that you want me to do? She then says, do the hours that are stated in your contract. So I think to myself, okay, cool, whatever. So to clarify, I ask her, okay, does that mean that I have to start at 8 o'clock in the morning and finish at 4:30 every single day? And when I said this, she rolled her eyes. She looked at me like I'm stupid and says, it's not that hard. Your contracted hours is what I want to see in your timesheet, not this nonsense that you've been doing. And it's right about here that my master plan started to come to life. I thought to myself, okay, fine. You see, I'm petty, and I mean like really petty. And best of all, I do not like jerks. So I go home and I sleep like a baby, knowing that I will mess her up so much that she will start losing her mind mind. The next day I come to work and I wait by the clock-in machine to clock in right at 8 o'clock in the morning. Then I work my normal day and then I go back to the clock-in machine and I wait to clock out exactly at 4:30 in the afternoon. And I think at this point you can probably already guess where this is going. But wait, because trust me, there's so much more. My super friendly fellow coworkers realized very quickly what I was doing, and you know what? They decided to do the exact same thing. There were 10 of us in a team and we all gathered at the clock machine before and after the shift so that we could clock in and out exactly at 8 o'clock and at 4:30 in the afternoon. Now the jerk manager didn't realize for a while what was going on. That is until she put a meeting in place at 4 o'clock. Well, there were 4 of us in that meeting, but once 4:25 came around, all 4 of us get up while she's talking and run out to our desks. We then quickly gather our stuff and run to the clock-in machine, and then about 1 to 2 minutes later, we all clock out and go home. I mean, she didn't even have the time to ask us what we're doing. The next day, she sends us an invite for 4:30 p.m., and it gets rejected by everyone on the team. She then sends nasty emails to all of us who rejected her that we will be written up for insubordination. But you know what? We forwarded the email to Human Resources and we asked for a meeting. The meeting happens, the Human Resources lady listens to us with her eyes wide and laughing, and then she shakes her head and says, okay, just leave it to me. We then go about our day and then we all clock out exactly at 4:30 p.m. And wouldn't you guess it, the next day the jerk manager is nowhere to be seen. The Human Resources lady sent an email to us asking to come see her at 2 o'clock p.m. And it's right there that we're informed that the jerk manager will no longer oversee our department. And in all actuality, she will no longer work for the company, all due to her objectives not aligning more with the business. You know, whatever that means. Now, the gossip has it that this jerk manager was always biting more than she could chew and caused issues across a few departments. And she was apparently moved around because of second chances. But thankfully, we all went back to our own schedules. And when our manager came back from maternity leave and was told what happened, she just laughed and said that she raised us well because she would have done the exact same thing. Oh man, I love this so much because holy crap, I hate managers who act like this dude. Seriously, they come in here and they ruin the culture of your department. Everybody's happy, you have an original leader who literally gets it, and then in comes this moron who's like, oh, we're gonna shake things up. You're stealing company time and you need to do what I say or you're out of here. And it's like, dude, why are you making things so hostile? I'm still doing my job, I'm not stealing time. Like literally, my time at the end of the week is gonna be the exact same. Why would you choose to make things weird like that? Like, come on. But also, I love the fact that they walked out in the middle of that meeting. Like, holy crap, that takes some guts, man. That's one of those things where like, yeah, strength in numbers is exactly what you need because this is some crazy crap. If one of you had walked out and the rest stood still, that would have made that one person look bad. But because all of you walked out at the same time, like that is beautiful in my opinion. So yeah, I love this story because this manager absolutely deserved to get shut down, especially if she's gonna be this hostile. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Am I the jerk for not changing my daughter's wedding venue, even though my sister's husband proposed to his 22-year-old mistress there last month? Because right now, my sister is saying that I'm betraying the family if we go through with keeping this venue. And at this point, I honestly just don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. So I want to start off by saying that I put down a $20,000 non-refundable deposit on this gorgeous beachfront estate for my daughter. Let's call her Amy for the sake of the story, and her wedding is next September. And mind you, we booked it 18 months out. Now, without revealing too much, this is the venue in our area, and it's been Amy's dream wedding spot in all of her Pinterest boards. Well, last month, my sister, let's call her Carol, found out her cheating ex-husband, we'll call him Mark, proposed to his coworker who was 28, who he had been having an affair with since she was 22 years old. And this is where things get really tricky because the woman posted engagement photos from the same venue, specifically the beautiful beach area where Amy plans to have her ceremony. Well, as you can probably guess, Carol is absolutely destroyed. She called me sobbing, begging me to change venues. She says she can't watch Amy get married where Mark proposed to a girl younger than his own daughter. She cannot smile for photos on that beach. Now, I feel sick for her, I really do, but there are some massive issues with this plan. For starters, I put down a $20,000 non-refundable deposit. The save the dates are already sent, not to mention Amy's dreamed of this venue since she was in high school, and everything else is booked for like 3 times the price. I told Carol I can't lose $20,000 and crush Amy's dreams, $1,000, all because Mark is a trash person. Carol then says I'm choosing money over her mental health, that I'm forcing her to relive the worst betrayal of her life for pretty pictures. I also talked to Amy about it, and she does not want a venue change. And you know what? It's not her fault that Mark, who has been out of our lives for like the past 5 years, ruined that place for Carol. And this is where Carol called Amy a spoiled brat who wouldn't understand real pain. And now, as a result, Carol is skipping Thanksgiving. In fact, my side and Carol's side of the family, namely her daughters and to some extent my parents, say that I'm being heartless. They say the place is cursed anyway, so why should we host Amy's big day there? But my husband's side of the family says that Carol doesn't get to hijack Amy's wedding just because her husband's a cheater. So seriously, am I the jerk for not switching venues? Because right now, I really just don't know what to do. Oh my gosh, there is no way you would ever be the jerk here. Carol is out of her mind, and so is her entire family. I seriously don't care what kind of emotional turmoil you've gone through. If I spent $20,000 that I will never get back just to book a venue for weddings and engagements, then guess what? I'm gonna keep that venue. Like, this is ridiculous. Why should you be expected to bend to whatever Carol's feeling that day? Because you've got it right. Just because Mark's a cheating jerk doesn't mean that somehow this is Amy's problem. And guess what? That venue is used by all kinds of people, both good and bad, all the time. Why should you be expected to flush $20,000 down the drain just because Carol got her feelings hurt? And also, someone pointed this out in the comments section, but Carol has literally had 5 years to figure this out. She has had so much time to heal those wounds and try to find some kind of like, oh, I don't know, I'm letting go of the past or whatever. Like, why on earth would she try to like force that on you and your daughter out of nowhere? All because he proposed at the same venue. Like, what's going on, dude? This is unacceptable in my opinion, and I just can't believe anyone would expect this from you. Because yeah, if I was in your shoes, I absolutely would prioritize my wallet over Carol's feelings. So with that in mind, no, you're definitely not the jerk. Because if Carol really felt this way, she and the rest of the family who's complaining, oh yeah, your daughter's a spoiled brat. Also, you're heartless and you're thinking about money instead of my feelings. Like, if they really think that's not a big deal and like, oh yeah, it's just $20,000, then all of them can help get your money back by paying you $20,000, but also start the process of reserving something else. Because I guarantee you they're never gonna do that, which in my opinion makes them hypocrites. Because the way that Carol's trying to put her feelings and her problems onto you and your daughter is just insane in my opinion, and I would not put up with that for a single second. Today, I need to confess because I've been lying to my entire family about why I'm doing way better suddenly financially. Because right now I feel terrible about it and I don't know if I should tell them the truth. Here's what's going on. Okay, so basically, my financial situation has improved pretty dramatically over the last 6 months, and I'm talking in a way that literally has allowed me to finally pay off my credit cards and started going out to decent restaurants instead of living off of literally pennies. Now, obviously, my family noticed, especially my mom. She keeps making comments about how I seem to be doing well for myself lately, and my dad asked if I got promoted at work. My younger sister straight up asked me how I suddenly have money for concert tickets and new clothing when I was literally broke 6 months ago. But the real reason is kind of embarrassing, and I know they'd lose their minds. I got into some online entertainment stuff and it hit really lucky on a few different platforms. Just some small amounts that happened to pay off way better than I ever expected. But instead of explaining that, I've been telling everyone I got a promotion and a raise at work. But here's the thing, my job is exactly the same, I have the same salary, literally just the same everything in my life. I just got lucky with timing and made some good calls on entertainment investments that were honestly more luck than skill. But here's the problem, my family, especially my mother, are super conservative about money. Like, she still lectures me about risky financial behavior when I buy name brand cereal instead of generic. If she knew I'd been putting money into what she definitely would consider gambling, she would absolutely lose it. Hours of lecture about how I'm throwing my money away and developing dangerous habits. My dad would probably be more chill about it, but he'd want to know all the details and give me advice about investment strategies, when really it was just me getting lucky on some entertainment bets, and not like I discovered some brilliant system. And my sister would definitely tell mom everything, because she can't keep her mouth shut about anything. The worst part is the lie keeps getting bigger. My mom wants to celebrate my promotion and take me out to dinner. My dad is giving me advice about 401k contributions based on my imaginary raise. I feel like such a fraud, but I'm also terrified of disappointing them or dealing with the judgment of them knowing the truth. So, has anyone ever had to hide good news because you knew it would cause more problems than just keeping quiet? Because right now I feel so stuck that I just don't know what to do. Okay, I've said this 1,000 times on the channel, but I really mean this. If you win the lottery or win like a lot of money because you invested in the right things, or you made the right bets or something like that, the best thing you can do is say nothing to anybody. But especially don't give off any hints that, yeah, I'm doing pretty good now. Like, I'm sorry, but you kind of dug this hole for yourself, and I don't really feel bad for you because this really could have been avoided. If I was in the original poster's shoes and I had what was basically like life-changing money, I would just make subtle changes in my life, but there's no way in the world I would make these big steps like this guy did. Like, seriously, you had to know that your family was gonna catch on, right? Like, why not just keep this under wraps instead of confessing everything? Because I really think people change once money's involved in the equation. Family, friends, it doesn't matter who it is. The second they know that you're loaded, they're gonna be like, oh, can I have some of that? Because suddenly that money you earned is gonna become everybody's money. Everybody's gonna want a piece of that pie until you're left with nothing left. And if your family really is as obnoxious as you're saying, then my God, you've really got yourself in a bad situation. So if I was in your shoes, I would say nothing. I would not add on to this lie, and I would be like, no, I don't want to celebrate. It's honestly nobody's business. Because here's my conspiracy theory. You ready for this? This could be wrong, so bear with me. But in my opinion, based on the way they're acting, it almost seems like your parents are trying to butter you up and get more information from you, so they can then like step forward and be like, oh, so that's how much money you made, and then try to start asking you for favors. Like, it literally seems like the beginning stage of what I just described, and that is kind of alarming in my opinion. So no, I would not say anything, and I would just take this as a lesson learned, because you can still right this ship in the right direction. Because if you're not careful, everybody's gonna know you're rich, and that's only gonna cause you more problems than any kind of good. I overheard my neighbor saying that he hates me and my wife, stating that we're being annoying with the cameras we have around our house, despite the fact that we've been very accommodating while they're trying to build a pool in their backyard. And now I'm considering confronting them about this because my feelings are really hurt and I seriously just don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. Okay, I want to start off by saying that I am baffled by a recent encounter with my neighbor, and this is primarily about what I overheard. I live in the United States suburb and it's summer. I replaced my AC system in March, which was a significant investment for us. Well, our new neighbors who've been here for 6 months informed us in May that they are putting in a pool, and this was our first encounter with them. The pool company asked to use the path between our houses and gave us a poorly written liability waiver with inconsistent references. I then saw this as an opportunity to be a good neighbor and reword it to be more clear and sent it back, which they appreciated. A few days later, the neighbor wife asked to meet in person to discuss the timeline and their concerns. My wife then mentioned our new AC unit and asked that the machinery avoid the condenser. We also requested their work vehicles not park in front of our house, which we really need as we have regular services that use that space. We have an old Google camera that I use for video feed of the AC unit, just in case anything happened. I put this in a window in a conspicuous location so everyone knew it was there. Well, over the summer, nothing happened and we had no contact. So last week, my wife asked about repairs to our grass and sprinklers, and the neighbor's wife said the project was delayed but should be finished in a few weeks. And just as a side note, all of these interactions were very polite messages. Well, this brings us to our most recent encounter a day ago. At around 5 o'clock in the evening, a work vehicle with a trailer arrives and parks directly in front of our driveway. The workers open the trailer and start doing their work. The truck is labeled for a specific service, and another crew had been on site recently to perform the same service. I was mildly curious as I didn't really think it was the same company, and so as my wife and I head out to take our evening walk with our dog, my wife asks how long they will be there, and they respond that they are about to leave. Now, the interaction was no more than 5 seconds. As we arrive home, they are leaving and the neighbor's heading inside of his house. Now, I need to also mention that we have a driveway camera. I was curious if I could listen to their conversation and hear why another company was here, and yeah, this is just me being nosy. But what I hear is not that. It's my neighbors complaining about us to these workers. He then talks bad about us and mentions the camera, and I can also tell that they discuss the parking situation. This guy then said that he just doesn't like us repeatedly, and I can clearly hear him say, man, I do not like these new neighbors, both of them. Now, my wife and I debated this for a bit because I don't know what he means by that, but we finally came to a conclusion that he means us and his other neighbors. And honestly, I'm taken aback. We have barely spoken to each other. My wife has had maybe 5 back and forth text conversations and maybe 1 in-person conversation, if that. We've never spoken to him personally. My daughter says that she has talked to him maybe once and it was just like a passing hello. I'm honestly not sure what to do here. As I see it, we've done nothing nothing to him. There's never been a personal interaction. So seriously, am I the jerk here? My wife is considering confronting the neighbor's wife, but I'm honestly not sure if this is the right choice. What should we do? Okay, in my opinion, it doesn't sound like you've really done anything wrong. And you know what? If they got problems with your camera, then tough cookies. Because if you're pointing it at your brand new AC unit to make sure nobody's messing with it, then guess what? That's well within your rights. But in my opinion, there's no way you should ever approach them about what they said about you. Like honestly, this is one of those situations where you need to let it go and just move on. You now know that they are pieces of garbage and you absolutely want nothing to do with them. Because clearly, they would make some kind of weird judgment call about you, even though from the sounds of it, you've been really accommodating and reasonable, and better yet, you've never really had any other interactions with them. Like it really just seems like you have some toxic neighbors and that really sucks, so I really am sorry about that. So no, in my opinion, do not approach them about this. Any kind of interaction about this by being like, oh yeah, I overheard your conversation through my camera. Like that's only going to cause more problems in my opinion, and I just don't think it's worth it. My idiotic nephew broke my headphones, and despite the fact that I talked with his mother to try and get some kind of replacement going, she's claiming that this is not her problem, which is now putting me in a situation where I kind of want to sell my nephew's stuff just so I can get some money to replace my headphones. And at this point, I don't know if I would be the jerk if I did this because right now I'm incredibly pissed off. Here's what's going on. I'm a 21-year-old female and I just got off of an 8-hour shift at work. I work in hospitality, so I was dealing with people all day. I hadn't gotten the opportunity to eat my lunch on the job, so I figured I would warm up what I did not get to eat in the microwave at home. Well, my 12-year-old nephew was home unbeknownst to me. As we are usually on good terms, I spoke to him a little while I was preparing to reheat my food. And this is where he starts to get playful and start to roughhouse with me for my food, despite the fact that we are around the same height and probably the same weight. I mean, he's maybe like an inch or two beneath me, but if it's helpful in any context, he plays football and he is quite heavy. After I shove him off of me to get my food, he then grabs me by my collar and shoves me back against the countertop and combos it by slamming the right side of my head into the microwave my food was in. Now, since the microwave is floating, as in bolted to the cabinets above the counter, my headphones, which were on my head at the time, took the shock of the impact instead of my face and they broke immediately. Now, I didn't get hurt, that's not what this is about, but instead the right ear of my headphones were left dangling. I wasn't upset right away, but more so just in shock because of what happened. I didn't even take it up with him first since my sister was about to be home soon. Well, when she arrived later that evening, I informed her of what her son had done to me, and as expected, she just brushed it off. In her words, she said, well, that's not my problem, and it's right here that I knew that if she wouldn't handle it, I would have to call the father instead. Now, my sister, I'll call her Nikki for clarity, actually prevented me from contacting the father as well, and her reasoning was that she didn't want to waste his time with this. When I suggested selling off some of her stuff to make up for what her son did, she got visibly irritated. Now, I only suggested that since I assumed that she didn't have the money to replace the headphones herself. I also went ahead and I tried to have our mother weigh in on the situation, and she suggested that I sell the son's items instead since he was directly responsible. Well, it's now been a month since this all went down, and I'm officially fed up with my problems being put on the back burner. So would I be the jerk if I sold off my nephew's stuff just to get my money back for the headphones? Because right now, I'm not sure what else to do. Oh man, I cannot stand siblings like this where they're like, no, my kid has done nothing wrong and you're not going to contact anyone else about this. This is not my problem. It's like, dude, no, it is your problem. Your stupid kid slammed my head against the microwave and now guess what? My headphones are literally broken. Like you owe me a new pair of headphones. Like that's crazy to me. I can't believe she's acting like that. So while I can't really say whether or not you should sell this stuff off to get the money, in my opinion, your sister and nephew are 100% responsible for your headphones breaking. And the fact that they're trying to say otherwise is absolutely insane in my opinion. An entitled worker at a card store literally gave me the worst attitude I've ever seen in my entire life when I was simply trying to order cards in advance. So I decided to get some revenge by literally ruining this guy's entire day by making an order that he would have absolutely no time to complete before I would pick it up, derailing his entire day and forcing him to do something he easily could have done in advance. Here's what I did. Okay, so I just got home from this experience and I wanted to share it because it was kind of wild. As a hobby, I've taken to trading card games like Pokemon and Magic the Gathering to be more specific. I'm not collecting sealed products, but rather I'm usually buying bulk so that I can make multiple decks and play with my family. And this is important because I am often making huge bulk orders that consist of 50 cards or more. There are a few shops near me and I am fortunate enough to be close to about 5 hobby shops that sell Pokemon and Magic singles. Now, I managed to drag my family into the Pokemon hobby roughly about a year ago. Since then, the process of making an order was to select from their online stock and then check out with a cart. And then when you check out, you're given 2 options. You can either pay in advance for your order or just pay in the store. Well, paying in advance, while it is sensible, has often led to cards being paid for that they they just did not have in stock, as in it was mistakenly labeled as in stock but actually was not. And this would then result in a refund system that would take like 2 to 3 days to complete. The issue is that it would be super inconvenient when I would have to wait for like 3 days just to recoup the money. I personally experienced a transaction of a $10 card that needed to be refunded. So I spoke to one of the staff and they told me, well, when you have big orders, it's perfectly fine to call ahead of time and we can pick the order when we have time. In fact, according to them, if you don't mistreat this process, it works out for everyone. Now that staff member is awesome, and so for about a year, that's exactly what I did. This process accomplishes 3 things for me. 1, I'm not paying for a product that couldn't be fulfilled. Number 2, I would reduce my time waiting because I called ahead of time by 4 or 5 hours. And number 3, the staff members would have plenty of time to grab the order. I never mistreated this process, and I always came through when I said I would come through. And trust me, this wouldn't be a malicious compliance story if not for the next part. About 2 months ago, me and my family took the dive into Magic the Gathering, and that's because Commander is a blast. This has caused me to start hoarding cards again and making decks for myself and for my family's usage. So I was back into the swing of things again, making 50 single card orders from this shop that I love very much. During my usual 4-hour in advance phone call, I was told, hey, you have to stop calling in these orders. It's store policy to only pull orders that have been paid for, so we won't be pulling your cards until they are paid for. And honestly, I found that weird. I was told otherwise, but I guess I'll have to ask them when I get there. So I get there to pick up and pay for my order, and I tried to explain that this process was something that a previous staff member told me was completely fine, and they even encouraged it. There were 2 staff members and they both responded again with a very terse and repeated message of, oh, it's store policy. Well, the message was fine enough, but the tone and rudeness had me floored. They told me from now on, prepay for all of my orders, and only then can I come and pick them up. So this is where my malicious compliance begins. I mean, it was clear what they wanted me to do, prepay and just show up. So a few weeks later, what I did was scroll through their inventory, and I started the process of making my deck look amazing. I proceeded to spend roughly 40 minutes scrolling through their online inventory and adding to my cart with various amounts of the most hollow foil basic land card that I could possibly find under $1. Now, for those of you who are not familiar, these basic lands are pretty cheap. We're talking like maybe 60 cents a piece. They also are categorized by sets and as individual printings. So each basic land has its own set and its own foil print version. So this means that they would need to hunt each land by set and by foil print. I had carded roughly 100 cards. We're talking 100 cards they would need to hunt through at least 40 different sets. They would also need to specifically find the foil only for the basic lands. But even better than that, I gave them an hour to pick the order. An hour, which is definitely not a lot of time, is more than enough to grab this order. Well, when I get there, it was one of the 2 guys that had reinforced the new method of ordering. Even better, he was swamped. He hadn't even started my order. Now, I would have loved to have given him the 4 to 5 hour head start that I would normally give, but it was store policy that I stopped calling in advance and just order, pay, and then show up. So I wait. I ask if they started my order, and he quickly responded by saying, yes, I'm getting to it. And I think that even he knew that this would have been much easier if I had called 4 hours in advance like I normally would. This may be a strange thing to say, but I was very happy that there were 4 cards that were not available for the order. So I had paid for 4 cards that I would never see fulfilled. Now, do you remember the staff member that was awesome? Yeah, he showed up about 30 minutes into my wait, and he asked if I had been waiting for a long time. And when I told him my wait time, just because I had to wait, he had given me one of the tournament participant packs, and I actually pulled a $30 card, which honestly was pretty amazing. Well, the exchange was made, and I waited a total of 40 minutes. 4 cards were missing, and I plan on approaching their social media, or the shop owner itself, and ask for clarification from the establishment on what I should be doing in the future. That will be something I do in the near future, but for now, I feel very vindicated. The staff member had to frantically hunt for the cards, and even had to tell me that there were cards missing, which, by the way, are all the things that the previous system completely avoided. Dude, this is so funny to me because this guy was just being a massive jerk for no reason. Seriously, if he had just been like kind or at least somewhat polite in some kind of way, then this could have all been avoided like entirely. Because here's the thing, there's nothing worse than having crappy people working at a job where they literally are not following the easiest path. Yes, it's gonna make you do some work for like a few hours before we pick it up, but if it's a well-reputable customer who buys stuff from you guys all the time, at least have the common courtesy of doing your job, instead of trying to scramble for 40 minutes with this awful attitude to boot. So honestly, I love the fact that you got revenge on these guys and showed them exactly why you were trying to follow the rules. Because in my opinion, these guys absolutely deserved it. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Am I overreacting for canceling the family vacation that I paid for after quite literally everybody complained about what I planned out? Because right now I'm still very hurt about this, even after they said that I ruined the trip. Here's what's going on. I'm a 36-year-old female, and I want to start off by saying that I saved for months to take my family, namely my husband, my 2 kids, my parents, and my brother and his wife, on a week-long trip to the mountains. I booked the cabin, I paid for most of the cost, and I even planned out all the activities. Well, the entire time, no one stopped complaining. My mom said the cabin was too rustic. My brother complained about there being no nightlife. My dad griped about the food options, and my husband was sulking because there wasn't good Wi-Fi. I spent the whole trip driving people around, cooking, cleaning, and trying to make everybody happy. On the 3rd day, after my sister-in-law made a snide remark about how I wasted money on the wrong place, I finally just snapped. I called a family meeting, I told everyone I was done, and then I canceled the rest of the planned activities. I said if they wanted entertainment, they could figure it out themselves. But apparently, now everyone says I ruined the trip and made it miserable. But I feel like they ruined it long before I pulled the plug. So seriously, did I overreact by canceling everything? Because right now I'm still incredibly pissed off. Oh man, if someone acted like that after I spent all this money and was like, okay, we're gonna plan this out, I'm gonna cover the costs and all that stuff, if they then started complaining and being like, wow, you wasted money on the wrong place, I'm pretty sure I would also snap. Like, I can't imagine anybody putting up with that. You mean to tell me you came all the way out here on my dime and you have the audacity to be like, oh yeah, this isn't good enough. Like, dude, there's no way. The original poster is 100% in the right. These people just don't realize that you did all the work here. They're just a passenger on the trip and they're trying to blame you for it not being fun. It's like, dude, what are you talking about? At least attempt to be gracious about the situation. Like, come on. So no, you did not overreact at all. These people suck. And the fact that they're trying to blame this on you all because you canceled it because of their complaining, like, that's also super toxic, and I know for a fact I would never do a vacation with them ever again. An entitled, creepy server decides to hit on me instead of getting my order right while I was literally on a date trying to get dinner. So I decided to get some revenge by literally leaving him no tip, leaving him flabbergasted and me incredibly satisfied to get back at this guy. Here's what happened. Okay, so some odd years ago, I was on my first date with a guy my friends introduced to me. Just a getting to know you, are we gonna date or not type of deal at a 24-hour diner, which was really not a romantic dinner for 2. Now, the waiter unfortunately spent more time hitting on me than anything else. At one point, he was perched on the edge of my booth with his arms across the back behind me, and it was honestly disgusting. To top it off, he even somehow managed to get my order wrong. Like, if you're gonna flirt incessantly with some random customer, at least pay attention to what they order. Anyways, this is where things get kinda spicy. Now, I've been told that it is more insulting to leave an awful tip than it is to leave no tip. It says literally, hey, I'm not a jerk who doesn't tip, I just don't think you're worth anything more than that. So I decided after everything this guy did to me that when I was gonna pay, I'm gonna leave a single $1 bill on the table. And you know what? That's exactly what I did. This dude came back with my card, again, perched on the edge of the booth, and actually said to me, wait, only $1? That's it? Don't I deserve more? But in a rare moment of boldness, the likes of which I have never attained again, I said to him, oh, my bad, I must have dropped that. And then I put the dollar right back in my purse. Now, this wasn't one of those situations where everybody clapped and applauded what I did, because it was literally midnight and I'm pretty sure the only people there were me, my date, and the waiter, and presumably the cook. I don't remember what my date thought of my response, but we did date for most of the year, so it couldn't have been too off-putting to put this waiter in his place, because this guy absolutely deserved it. Oh man, that's so weird and creepy that that guy was literally hitting on you the entire time. Like, I don't know about you, but when I did like customer service and when I was a waiter myself, if I ever saw a man and a woman sitting together eating dinner, it would probably be pretty safe to bet that they're either a couple or they're like on a date or something. Like, maybe on the rare occasion it's like a brother-sister situation or some kind of like family member, but more times than not it's someone who's like on a date with like a significant other or someone they're getting to know. So the last thing on my mind is like, oh yeah, I'm gonna pick this chick up, watch me flirt with her. Like, dude, what is going on right now? You need to be professional and do your job. So I honestly love the way the original poster handled this. I love the fact that they didn't give anything in terms of a tip to this guy because he was being incredibly creepy. Like, honestly, there's no good excuse for that. His behavior was completely wrong, and in my opinion, he absolutely deserved it. Am I the jerk for asking my friend's wife who's staying with us to please take down the scented plugin she's put up all over the room that she's renting from us? Because literally, it's made my house smell incredibly bad, and I'm honestly not sure if I'm in the wrong for telling her to stop. Here's what's going on. Okay, so my wife's friend, who we will call Melissa, is staying with us for a few weeks while she sorts out her life. We have a large home, and we are very happy to have house guests. She's leaving her husband after 25 years of marriage because she wants to move to Los Angeles and work at Disneyland. This sounds like the plot of a bad sitcom, but I'm afraid it's actually actually real. Both she and her husband are equally culpable for the failure of their marriage and really bring out the worst in one another. In fact, their relationship has been in a state for as long as I've known them. The problem is Melissa showed up with an arsenal of room scents and sprays and plugins. The smell has completely taken over the hallway, the family bathroom, the office, and even down 2 flights of stairs into the foyer drawing room and the living room itself. It's strong, it's nasty, and it's made of and smells like all the chemicals that we avoid. Now, as a sidebar, we've been cleansing ourselves of chemical nasties and have curated our home to smell clean and subtle. It's part of what makes it feel like home, but now it's just starting to smell like teen spirit, if you know what I mean. Melissa is genuinely lovely and in a vulnerable spot, and I don't want to make her feel unwelcome, but it's our house, and this is something that we've been intentional about. However, outside of our personal feelings about plugins, it feels really out there to rock up into someone else's house and then decide to bring your own plug-in scents to totally change the smell of the house. I mentioned how strong the smell was, assuming it was a room spray, and how it was overtaking every room. And she said to me, "Yeah, the plugins are pretty strong." And I was so shocked that I literally just asked her, "Can you please remove them?" And I did this in a sensitive way. I said to her, "Hey, those room sprays are pretty strong. Would you mind keeping the door closed if you're using them?" But when I said this, I honestly spiraled when I heard the word plugins, as in she has more than one. My wife told me that I was being a jerk for making her uncomfortable when she is going through a lot right now, and basically saying that I was over the line by asking her to stop. But I was incredulous that she thought it was okay to change the scent of our house. So seriously, am I the jerk here? Because right now I really just don't know if I'm in the wrong. Okay, honestly, I don't think this is that big of a deal, and I don't think you're in the wrong in my opinion. Like, you have every right to be like, yeah, this is making the house smell weird and I don't like this. And sure, you probably could have like just told your wife and she could have talked to her, but I mean, why should you have to wait for that? This is obviously bothering everybody, and it's like, well, wait a second, I shouldn't have to go through my wife to do this. Now, in terms of an update, it looks like the message was taken loud and clear, and Melissa has taken down all the plugins, so I guess in the end it did work out. But when it comes to the initial question, absolutely not. I don't think you're the jerk, because I agree with the original poster. I think it's very intrusive to do something like that in someone else's home, and honestly, that just really was a bad call. My entitled boss went out of his mind by starting to micromanage me in a way that is really frustrating. So I decided to get back at him by following the letter of the law from our company handbook, doing things exactly as they're written, which he demanded from me, in such a way that literally derails the entire company and brings everything to a screeching halt. And I've honestly never felt better about teaching anybody a lesson in my life, because this guy never messed with me ever again after that. Here's how it all went down. So I work as a part-time office assistant for a mid-sized company. A few months ago, my manager, let's call him Dan for the sake of the story, started micromanaging me very hard. I'm talking clocking me for being 2 minutes late from lunch, criticizing my font choice and emails, and most annoyingly, calling me out in front of others for not following the company handbook to the letter of the law. One day after he publicly scolded me for using a blue pen instead of a black one, which yeah, he seriously complained about that, I decided to give him exactly what he wanted: complete and total compliance with the handbook. The next morning, I walked in at exactly 8:59 in the morning, because as you can probably guess, the handbook says the start time's at 9 o'clock, so there's no way I'm going to start even a second earlier. The handbook also says to use formal titles, so every email started with like this really super formal introduction, including for my coworkers that I've known for years. The handbook also says all internal documents must be signed and dated, so I signed and dated every single sticky note. The handbook says all meetings must be scheduled 24 hours in advance with agenda attached, so I declined his spontaneous quick chats until proper agendas were sent out. The handbook also says that lunch is 60 minutes, not 59 or anything more or less, meaning that I left my desk at 12 o'clock sharp and I didn't return until 1 o'clock on the dot. The handbook also says to copy to the human resources manager for all work disputes. So as a result, human resources started getting everything, even when Dan asked me to reprint a file. Within 3 days, everything slowed to a crawl. He had to answer to human resources twice for urgent emails I copied on them. In fact, projects backed up because he couldn't get me to bend even a little bit. On Friday, Dan called me into his office clearly frustrated. He said to me, "Look, can you just do your job without making everything so rigid?" But I responded to him by saying, "I'm just following the company handbook like you asked for." He then sat there silently for a good 10 seconds before he said to me, "All right, maybe we can be a little bit flexible moving forward." And ever since then, there's been no micromanagement. He barely looks my way, and my work life has been blissfully quiet. Dude, I love this so much. I hate managers who micromanage you. That drives me up a wall, and as someone who dealt with that at my previous job, holy crap, it is the worst. If you've never dealt with it, then you're like so lucky in my opinion, because this really will like derail your entire career. It'll make you hate your life, your job. It'll make you second guess literally everything, because in my opinion, it's like this really like lukewarm version of gaslighting where they're basically trying to be like, yeah, you're not doing anything right. Even the small things are wrong. And it's like, dude, I don't know what you want from me. I'm doing the best I can, and I'm literally doing what everyone else is doing. And if you micromanage the rest of my coworkers, I guarantee you would see like the same type of stuff. Like no one's perfect at their job. Like someone's gonna make even like minor supposed mistakes, even though like clocking in a minute early or late is not like a big mistake in my opinion. So yeah, I love the fact that you got back at this guy and you put him in his place by literally following the rules, because that sent a very clear message that the way he's acting is incredibly annoying. My entitled coworker keeps stealing pizza as well as several items from the office that he literally doesn't need, causing him to freak out and scream at me about this when I finally confront him, which honestly is one of the weirdest situations I've ever been in my entire life. Here's what happened. Okay, I want to start off by saying that I work in a weird sales job, and I've been here going on like 33 years. The ages in the office goes from like 20 all the way up to 90. Also, when people work together for 40 years, everybody knows everything about each other. It really is gossip central, and I feel like I work in a geriatric high school sometimes. We order lunch for the office at least 2 times a month, and it's usually pizza or sandwiches. We have a few people with dietary restrictions, so we order kosher, gluten-free, and vegan. I mean, I'm making sure that everybody's covered. Since I never know how many people are going to be in the office, we always order extra, and there's always leftovers for people to take home. Since the specialty food is very expensive, we keep that at reception. Last week, I heard someone arguing with a receptionist, and he was literally trying to take the specialty food, which was definitely not ordered for him. When I tried to interject, he started screaming at me, telling me that there's more than enough specialty food and that there's no reason why he can't have it. I then calmly explained to him that this was ordered for the people who need the dietary restrictions and that there is more than enough pizza for him to take home. Now, this guy was literally screaming at a level I can't even describe, considering it's about crappy pizza. Well, like every other gossip item in my office, absolutely everyone wanted to talk about him taking pizza. Unfortunately, the whole office knows that this gentleman packs pizza in a travel cooler all before anyone has actually eaten. He wraps it in tinfoil and then takes it home. Like, this guy's been doing this for years. This is not a money issue, by the way. He's just super cheap despite the fact that he's quite well off. The next day, I tried to discuss with him in his office with the door closed that he couldn't talk like that to anybody and explained the specialty food was ordered for people who have dietary restrictions. But once again, he starts screaming at me that there's more than enough specialty pizza and that there's no reason why he can't have it. Now, I haven't lost my temper in the office in over 8 years. I do my best to be calm and even tone it down at times, but it just kind of came out of me like hot lava, because right then and there, I started screaming back at this guy, saying that the entire office knows that he's stealing the pizza and that he has got to stop. He's more than welcome to take pizza home after everyone's eaten. Well, he was quite shocked that the whole office knows, and it really seems odd that he would be surprised considering how he whips out aluminum foil to wrap up the pizza every single time. The next morning, he asked to speak with me, and then he actually begins to cry to tell me he's sorry and that he doesn't know why he does it and that he will do better. Now, I honestly at this point felt awful. I really felt like 2 inches big. That's not who I am, and I really need to do better. And for the last week, I've been just a mess. I feel terrible that I yelled at him, and I just kept telling my boss that maybe I should apologize again. Well, my boss called me last night to tell me that he caught him stealing paper towels off the cleaning people's cart last night. Like, he was literally loading paper towels in a big bag. So, needless to say, I no longer feel bad, and my boss even gave me the day off, because this entire situation is honestly making me think that this guy is out of his mind and there's nothing I can do to help him. Dude, that is some funny stuff right there. That guy was completely full of garbage. He came to the original poster and was like, "Sorry for yelling. I'll try to be better." And then he goes behind everyone's back and steals paper towels. And mind you, this guy's loaded apparently. He's doing quite well for himself, as the original poster said, and like he's not really got any problems going on. So that's weird in and of itself. But also, in my opinion, and this really is how I feel, if someone's gonna yell at you and you've given them chances to be a normal human being and calm down, then I just would not feel bad about returning exactly the energy they're giving me. Like, seriously, that kind of energy is so weird, and I just cannot stand when people do that crap. Because think about it, you're just asking them not to eat pizza. You're not being mean and you're not being weird about it. You're just saying, hey, don't do this anymore. Please stop taking the pizza that other people need. And this guy just starts freaking out and screaming at you like, dude, what is going on right now? So personally, I'm kind of glad that you yelled at him, because this guy absolutely needed to be shut down. My mom literally sent me through law school so that I could be her lawyer when she divorces my dad, putting me in a situation that honestly made my life fall apart. And now I seriously just don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. Okay, to start things out, right after I graduated from high school, I went to law school, and my mom and I were really excited. I did well on my first year, and I was even praised by professors and classmates, and everything seemed like it could go well. However, my second year was harder. My mind was so tired, and I started to do not so great. I went from excellent to good to average and then to a complete disaster. Every bad grade made me spiral and get depressed, and the more depressed I got, the worse I was doing at university. My mom was also not well, telling me that if I didn't do well, I would be a failure in life just like my dad. I then stopped telling her how I was doing or what my grades were, but she didn't stop there though. She managed to make a friend at my university who also was a math teacher just so she could look into the system and get my grades, and when she saw them, she just exploded on me. This started a long period of nearly daily screaming matches, and it was honestly just way too depressing. I then ended up repeating my second year, which was terrible. I was ashamed, I tried to be a ghost in the classroom, I stopped doing anything extra, and I was just so very depressed. But the situation with my mom got way worse, as I was clearly not doing well in any sense. I then ended up repeating that year again. So I was no longer allowed to sign up to university. And this is the start of my mom calling me a failure for years, and comparing me to literally anyone who was younger than me and already graduated from university. And now she's even comparing me to children doing robotics in their school with a government plan, just to point out that I failed in life. Now, when it comes to the title of this story, trust me, things get incredibly weird. My mom was cheated on by my dad when I was a child, and it was a very traumatic experience because my dad got very violent. My dad is still living with his affair partner, and she made sure to gold dig all she could with my dad. My dad even put her on law school in another state, and she became a lawyer. And it's important to know that my dad is a very well-known, very successful lawyer where we live. Well, my mom is raging at the fact that my dad put his affair partner in law school, and now just takes it out on me, screaming at me that if this idiot can do it, then I should be able to do it too. Now, besides all of this, my mom had never divorced my dad. They had been going back and forth for years, and I usually say that is because none of them would agree on a divorce term that wouldn't be something like, oh, just leaving the other person on the street. Also, my country's stupid laws have some fault, and at the time, you needed to prove that you were separated and had no contact for at least 2 years and other crap like that. Well, 15 years passed and there was still no divorce. That is until last year when my dad used a relatively new law that allows one-sided divorce for lack of affection, and they finally got divorced mostly because my mom could not legally challenge it, but there still is this need to have a trial for the marital properties that they still haven't had yet. In the divorce lawsuits that we received, my dad's affair partner has now postured as his lawyer, and my mom is raging. And here's where she said to me, oh, if you had just finished law school, you could have been my lawyer. Now, it's important to note that this is not the first time my mom said this to me. In fact, she used to say it quite often when I was in university. But I knew for sure that I didn't want to go the civil path or the criminal path because I seriously didn't want to deal with other people's personal dramas or to deal with criminals. I also voiced it quite often. I was interested in constitutional, public law, and even copyright law, but unfortunately, copyright law wasn't a class in school, even though I was doing well in my public law classes. I told my mom that I would have never been a lawyer and that I wouldn't touch her case with a 39.5-foot pole, to which she proceeded to rant about how much of a traitor I am, as she says that I'm leaving her to deal with her divorce on her own. I was often told that this is between my parents and that I should not have a say on it, and this just enrages me because I was always in the middle of everything. I was weaponized by both of them for years. I was told daily by my mom that if I didn't do well in school, I would be a lowlife just like my dad. I was subjected to be constantly compared to my dad just to put me down. I was used as a messenger in between them because they refused to talk to each other. Even when my dad finally filed for divorce, the court called me because they couldn't reach my mom. My mom literally said for years that she wanted me to go to law school so that I could be her divorce lawyer. But now that I'm in the second half of my 20s, that's when I'm suddenly told that I should have nothing to do with their marital problems, when ever since I was a child, they made it my problem too. And now I'm honestly devastated by all of this, and I seriously just don't know what to do. Wow, your mom is crazy. Imagine going to your own kid and being like, you need to go and be my divorce lawyer, so I'm gonna send you to law school so you can do exactly that. And on top of that, the dad's affair partner is also a lawyer, so like, this is clearly making your mom go crazy. Like, is that the only reason she put you in law school? Just so you could be her lawyer and like try to fix her life? Like, what's going on right now? That's so weird. And honestly, with that kind of pressure on your back, I don't blame you for doing bad. Like seriously, she's trying to put you in a section that you don't want to be a part of, while also, once again, trying to weaponize demonize you against your own father. Like at that point, I would be bailing on all of this and be like, okay, I'm not putting up with this. There's no way I'm dealing with this. So yeah, this whole situation is so messy and I'm honestly so sorry that you're dealing with it. And hopefully you find some kind of distance from your mom because what she tried to set you up to do, in my opinion, is just insane. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to AmITheJerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Am I the jerk for putting my hand over my sister-in-law's camera at my own birthday dinner after I literally told her multiple times to not film me? Because right now she's saying I humiliated her and I just don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. I'm a 29-year-old female and I had a small birthday dinner last weekend with my husband, my sister-in-law who we will call Lena, my mother-in-law, and 2 friends at a normal but nice place. Now Lena is an influencer and she films literally everything. The plates, the forks, even people breathing, like it's super obnoxious. 3 days before I wrote in the family chat, please don't film me. You can film the food or the room, like that's fine, but just don't film my face. And she responded back by saying that she understood. Well, we sit down and within 10 minutes, her phone is up. I say quietly, please don't point it at me. And she goes, oh, you look great. It's just vibes. My husband then backs me and says she said no. Lena then rolls her eyes and lowers it for maybe 2 minutes. Then the cake comes out with a little sparkler and the staff singing. Lena then stands and points the camera right in my face like, oh, birthday girl reveal. And it's here that I put my hand over the lens and I said stop. I didn't grab the phone or touch her. I just covered the camera for like a second. She then snaps at me and says that I ruined her shot and that this is her job. My mother-in-law then says, let it go for one night. But I said, this is my night actually. It then got awkward really fast. The server was right there. I felt embarrassed. My husband tried to change the subject, but Lena kept muttering about how she had to scrap everything. I even paid for my own dessert and we just left pretty quickly after that. The next morning, Lena texts that I humiliated her and made her look unprofessional in front of everyone. My mother-in-law says I should have moved seats if I didn't want to be in frame, but my husband says my boundary is fair, but maybe I made a scene by doing it during the song when eyes were already on me. She's posted me before without asking and coworkers mentioned it to me. I've asked her to please blur or remove and it just turns into drama, which is why I set the boundary in writing before dinner. So here's why I might be the jerk. It was a public place and I did physically block her shot, and yeah, it was during the song. I could have stood up and turned away or something like that, but also I don't want to be online against my will, especially on my own birthday. So seriously, am I the jerk here? Because right now I'm still incredibly frustrated. Okay, this is really crazy because your sister-in-law is absolutely toxic. Like seriously, this is not okay in my opinion. First of all, just because someone's an influencer doesn't mean they get to shove their camera in your face anytime they get the chance. Like, I don't care if it's your job or not, dude. Don't shove the camera in someone else's face and be like, oh, this is your problem. This is actually my job, so you have to deal with it. But it's like, no, you don't have to deal with that for a second. You establish a boundary and she walked right over it. Like, that's not fair for anybody. So no, you're not the jerk. What she did is incredibly toxic, and anybody defending her, in my opinion, is out of their mind. Would I be the jerk if I removed a friend and his girlfriend from our dining reservations that literally require him to confirm if he's going or not? Because right now I'm honestly super frustrated and I don't know what else to do. Here's what's going on. Okay, so I have a friend who keeps dodging my text messages when I try to confirm plans with them, but then they'll happily message the group chat that we're all in. Or if I call them, they say they'll call me back, but they never do. They are literally ignoring me when I'm just trying to make sure that they'll be there for our reservations that we're making. At this point, I'm getting frustrated and ready to just take them out of the reservation for the restaurants that we're going to, and this is all because of the cancellation fees. If they don't make it, I get charged $10 per person, and the restaurant's policy states that everyone must be there or we just won't get seated. So I could be charged upwards of like $60 because they decided not to communicate like an adult. I don't really want to take that risk on someone who's a grown adult and can't communicate, so honestly, am I being the jerk here? I know it's just money, but I think what's bugging me is the lack of communication and just ignoring me. This person is a good friend when we do hang out in person, but I can't seem to really rely on them because they just can't even communicate properly. And yet, when it comes to other people, they'll happily do so. I have tried to be patient, and I give them weeks to get back to me, but honestly, I have no luck. So, should I just take them off the reservations? Because I'm seriously not sure if they're even going to make it in the first place. Okay, dude, when it comes to friends like this, you have got to be like way more vocal. I would go to every single friend who is getting like messages from this person and be like, look, either this guy can respond back to me and confirm they're going, or I'm going to remove them from the list. And by the way, if they don't show up, then none of us are getting seated. Like, that might be the only way to get them involved and be like, okay, it's time to like step up and do what you need to do. Let's be adults here. Thank you very much. Because I am right there with you. This would drive me up a wall, dude. There's no way I would ever be okay with this. And honestly, it would probably piss me off off way more than anything else. So yeah, you would not be the jerk if you did that, but in my opinion, I think it's time to escalate because this friend is being a massive jerk. My parents basically self-invited them on a holiday I was planning on going on. But now that it's been rescheduled, I'm considering not telling them again because I don't want them to ruin my plans. Because at this point, I really just don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. Okay, I honestly need to ask this question. How do people put up with their parents deciding to come along to a holiday that you paid for ages ago for yourself and your significant other or a special person in your life? Because seriously, I just don't know how people do it. For a bit of context, I won a holiday some time ago, and the only thing I had to pay for was extra accommodation for one other person as well as the fuel to get there. Absolutely everything else, namely the food, the spa, the 2 nights for one person, a trip out to a Dungeons & Dragons event, talking with an author and cosplay fun day, honestly was all sorted out. I mentioned it in passing to my parents whom I live with that I wanted to make sure my car was safe for the journey, which was going to be a 4-hour drive on some pretty harrowing roads in wet weather. Well, when I said that, they immediately booked the accommodation for themselves, and they actually packed their bags, saying that they were coming too. When I politely explained it was just for 2 people, they told me they deserved the holiday. They said that they were going and that I could afford it. Because this is where I found out they went through my bank accounts, withdrew money as repayment for the accommodation they'd booked for me, checked all my budgeting, and then just ripped it to shreds. They then kept going on and on about the trip we were all going to have. They have no interest whatsoever in Dungeons & Dragons, cosplay, history outside of their own special interest area, talking to the author, or any such thing. Like, I literally didn't want to take them with me. Because one particular parent has mobility issues, and one event I was going to was upstairs, they pushed me to cancel as they needed the holiday, and it would have been so unfair on them to not be able to go upstairs. Now, my +1 that I was going to take with me initially came down with COVID, and we all ended up getting sick. So I was given a booking for another time and a different but cooler event. Well, that other time is now today, and I haven't told anybody yet, and honestly, I'm scared. What if they suspect something and demand that they come along as well? What if something happens to me on the road? They won't forgive me if I just take off without telling someone. I put boundaries in and I try to be honest with them, but they just walk all over my boundaries and do what they want instead. I mean, this is how they've always been with me. So I really need to know, how can people set firm but fair boundaries and actually be listened to by parents who never usually listen? Am I being selfish for wanting a break from them and not wanting them to come along? Also, am I selfish for not telling anyone, just taking time for myself to heal and refresh so that I can help them? I've told a friend about their behavior, but said friend just called me a jerk and that my parents really deserve the break. So, would you take off and go to the pre-booked holiday, or would that be a jerk move to do? Because right now, I'm not really sure if I'm in the wrong. Okay, honestly, you've got some bigger problems than this vacation itself. Did you really just say that your parents went through your bank account and stole money from your account, and then actually had the audacity to justify it? Like, dude, you need to make a new account. There is no reason your parents should be on your bank account in the slightest. Like, that should only have your name on it and maybe your significant other, but nobody else. And also, just to answer your question, no, you're not being selfish by wanting time for yourself. That's completely normal, dude. You have every right to have privacy and go do your own thing without anybody knowing. Because clearly being honest with your parents is just gonna get in the way, and they're gonna try and obstruct what you're doing and make it about them, and try and steal more of your money in the process. Holy crap. This is some serious problems that I just would never want to put up with. Especially the part about them completely disrespecting your boundaries. At that point, I would start looking at options for moving out because this is just weird, man. You have a right to privacy, especially with your bank account, and I can only imagine how frustrating it is to live in that kind of environment. So hopefully you can find some kind of solution because this sounds really insane. The hotel that I was staying at literally stole all my things 3 weeks before my checkout date, and now I'm honestly at a loss and I seriously just don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. Okay, so I had a 4-week reservation with a hotel in Maryland while I was doing some job training. I had gone home on the first weekend I was there since I was only 2 hours away. I left most of my things behind and I took the clothing that I needed to wash. Well, when I got back to the hotel room, everything was gone. I had over $3,500 worth of belongings ripped away because the new housekeeper decided to throw everything out that I had left. I had a Gucci duffel bag, a Louis Vuitton belt, a Gucci belt, as well as several other things that were incredibly expensive. But here's the thing, their policy is to hold their belongings for 1 week and they're lost and found. The general manager said there was a mistake with my checkout date, which is total BS since the paper he referred to had my checkout date 3 weeks out. Now backtrack 2 years ago, and I had a house fire where I literally lost everything but the clothing on my back. I lost my animals, literally everything. So when I got back to my hotel room, it ignited the same feeling of loss. Their insurance company is only trying to pay me for $2,300 for my belongings and $200 to sign a non-disclosure agreement. So am I overreacting overreacting by thinking that I'm owed much more, and it being ridiculous that they want me to sign an NDA when they're the ones at complete fault and they admitted it? Should I get a lawyer or just sign it and get the $2,500 and move on? What should I do? Okay, personally, this is just like a rule of thumb for me. I don't sign any paperwork without having a lawyer look over it first, because who knows what that thing says. But also, I can say what I would do because I don't want to give you like legal advice, but if I was in your shoes, the second they try to be like, oh, here's like a portion of what you're gonna get out of this, and also sign this paper saying you can't say anything. Like the second those options were presented to me, I'd be like, oh, okay, don't worry about that. I'm just gonna call the police and get a lawyer. Because there is no way I would ever put up with that. Dude, this is crazy talk. Because this is legitimately just insulting. Because I think you have it right. They probably did steal all of your crap, and that is insane in my opinion. Some jerk probably went in there and took all of your stuff and ran off with it, and now they're trying to be like, oh, sorry, I don't know what happened. This was a mistake. The checkout date was clearly wrong. And it's like, no, it's all in writing. You didn't get that wrong. You people just either destroyed my property or stole it, and honestly, both options are not fun. So no, you're not overreacting, and in my opinion, I think it's definitely time to find a lawyer, because what they're doing is incredibly sketchy. An entitled old woman demands that we give up our bus seat despite the fact that my sister was sitting there and she is literally 7 months pregnant. And even though this happened a while ago, this situation still really bothers me. Here's what happened. So I was on a bus with my sister, nephew, and daughter. My daughter was just past 2 years old and walking, with my nephew a year old in a stroller, and my sister nearly 7 months pregnant. On the buses in the United Kingdom, at least where I live, there are a couple of single seats that are meant for disabled people, or for basically those that are less able to stand. So my sister, you know, the one who's 7 months pregnant, sat in one of them with my daughter in her lap, and I stood with my nephew's stroller. An old woman came on, walked up to my sister and daughter, and told my sister to move. She said to her, I need to sit down, move out of the way. Now, it's really important to note that this wasn't a full bus. Lots of the double seats were empty, and the one behind my sister was empty as well, but the woman wanted this one specifically. Now, my sister is pretty non-confrontational, so I said sorry, but no. She's heavily pregnant and has my young daughter. Now, the seat behind was free, but that wasn't good enough for this lady. She simply must have that one. More people were coming on and the seats behind got taken, so she said that my sister had to move now. And again, I said no. She then said that she couldn't stand long and that my sister had to move. By this point, the bus had set off and there were still seats, but they were further back. I told her to get lost, that she wasn't going to risk an unborn kid or my daughter because she wanted this specific seat. No one would care if she fell, but I would match any injury they got if she didn't get lost and find a free seat. She looked around and just like the classic British stereotype, no one was looking up. No one was looking up or even making eye contact. Like literally, no one was saying anything and it was hilarious. She mumbled something, probably how awful we were, and went to a free seat 2 rows on the other side, which was oh so far away. I mean, my God, she can't possibly sit there. But the best part about it is that she got off 2 stops later. And honestly, even though this happened a long time ago, this still annoys me even to this day. Yeah, that was a massive waste of time from that old lady because she literally could have just gone to like any other seat and had no problems. Like seriously, she just wanted to cause problems and be like, no, you have to move right now. And it's like, dude, there's literally seats behind us. Go sit there. Like you can absolutely do that and be completely fine. Also, the sister of the story is literally 7 months pregnant. And I don't know about you, but I'm definitely going to give my seat up for a pregnant lady. Like what's going on right now? So yeah, good for you for not giving in to this stupid idiot because she was being incredibly toxic. Am I the jerk for body blocking my aunt who was literally trying to get unflattering photos of my grieving family members at my cousin's funeral? Because my aunt is constantly doing this, and this was the one day I simply didn't want this to happen. Here's what happened. Okay, so this was a funeral for my cousin, and I'm not gonna lie, we only ever really talked like twice in my life, and probably fought over the gaming console as kids, but I know she was a sweet girl that everyone loved. She was diagnosed as a kid with cystic fibrosis and passed away last week. She was the first baby of our generation and no one expected her gone so soon. We all chipped in for her funeral to the point where the family had extra which they decided to donate to our country's nonprofit for cystic fibrosis. Now, one of my aunts, who I will call Donna for the sake of the story, has this obsession with making our relatives look bad. Honestly, there's no nicer way to put it as she's just kind of an awful person. She has cameras and during Christmas or Easter, she'd always go out of her way to take pictures of my mom's hair all messed up and sweaty from cooking for hours, or maybe my uncle passed out drunk. And while you could say this is just her snapping random pictures, she always posts them online and never takes them down, even when we gently ask or even outright just beg her, because everybody looks downright ugly in all of her photos, except for her and maybe her toddler. So during the funeral, we're all about to say our last goodbyes before she's buried. We were all honestly put together until the violin song from when the Titanic was sinking started playing, and everyone just starts crying. And even I'm past that point because it's just so awful that she hadn't even gotten to live a normal life because of all the procedures that she had done on her. My uncle had the decency to stop the live feed for our relatives abroad, but Donna just whips out her camera and I know what's coming already. I'm so pissed that she keeps doing this and nobody stops her. Donna starts walking around the room and I know her style already, literally shoving the camera into people's faces like she always does under the guise of documenting family memories and whatever. I decide to start walking around and greeting the relatives just in time for me to block them out from the photos. I could see her through my peripheral vision starting to get pissed off, but I kept it up until she gave up and started filming the flowers since she was already getting weird stares from the people who were catching on. Now here's the last bit where I might be the jerk. It's the moment when my cousin's dad and uncles were carrying the casket. Dad's head is ducked, and I can tell he's about to crumble under both the physical and emotional weight of all of it. Donna, on the other hand, is like some hunter adjusting her camera for the perfect kill. Just as she's about to take a picture, I cover him up with my body under the guise of helping him lift up the casket. And when I did this, Donna literally hisses at me, but I glare at her and I don't move because screw that. Well, this was a week ago, and Donna keeps making subtle jabs at me in the group chat for making the funeral about myself because it's tradition that the men carry the casket. So am I the jerk or was I overreacting in some kind of way? Because right now I'm still incredibly pissed off. No, you did the right thing. This really is messed up. I can't believe that your aunt would seriously step up and be like, okay, now's the time to take photos. No, now's the time to grieve the loss of a family member. Like, dude, what's going on right now? If this aunt really is that toxic, I'm seriously surprised anybody invites her to anything in your family. So no, I don't think you did anything wrong. I think you did the right thing in my opinion, because your aunt is incredibly stupid. My psycho entitled mom is demanding that I let her move in with me, despite the fact that I know this would never work, as my mom is high-strung to an extent that is completely unacceptable, because my mom doesn't believe in boundaries or mental health, meaning that if she moved in, it would be my own personal nightmare. Here's what's going on. Okay, to start things out, I have an overbearing, emotionally unstable mother. She recently was in the process of selling her mobile home to move in with my brother because his partner is having their second child, and my mom is going to help with childcare, cleaning, cooking, etc. Well, she sold her place and was at my brother's house for 48 hours before getting into an argument with his partner about using a pitcher for coffee. My brother's partner asked her not to use that specific pitcher because it couldn't go in the microwave or something like that. And my mom basically told her that if she's going to live there and help her out, my brother's partner should nitpick everything, to which my brother's partner said, "This is my house." Now, for a bit of reference, my brother's partner has never really worked even before having one child, never paid a dime towards the house or the kid or anything they own. My mother's the one who paid to get them in the house and bought all their house stuff and their furniture and stuff like that. And in general, if I'm being completely honest, my brother's partner is a 35-year-old who sits on the computer playing Roblox all day while sticking her 3-year-old child in front of Cocomelon. So yeah, it's one of those situations. Anyways, my mom got very angry when she said it's her house, so she got her things and left to my other brother's place, which is a 2-bedroom trailer, but he has Asperger's. He's high-functioning but difficult at times, and they've been butting heads over little things as well. Like he tells her to treat his place like an infant so she doesn't break anything, which really upsets her. So needless to say, she doesn't want to stay with him. And by the way, she got $5,000 for her mobile home, but she's horrible with money. So she's freaking out and keeps trying to guilt trip me into letting her live with my partner and I. And by the way, we live an hour away for many reasons, but mostly for my sanity. She keeps calling me saying that she can't believe she's being treated this way by us, even though I really have nothing to do with the brother's partner drama, but she's making it about wanting to live with me. And seriously, I'm trying to help her find a place to live. She wants it closer to me, so I said okay. I sent her like 30 affordable rentals, and I doubt she's even looked at them, because in all actuality, she probably just wants me to say that she can live with me for some reason, but I simply cannot do it. Like, my mother is healthy and capable of living alone. She doesn't need a caregiver or anything like that. Now, a couple of years ago when I lived out of state with my partner, she decided that she needed to come live with me. So I said, okay, I guess, and she stayed for like 2 weeks before being so angry about the way I was treating her that she moved back to our home state. And all I did was ask her to not come into my bedroom and wake me up in the morning because my partner and I often slept, without any clothes on, and it's a bit inappropriate and inconsiderate to him to just come in instead of waiting for me to wake up or text me or something like that. You don't just barge in. Now, I'm not going to go into it too much, but I'm 24 years old and I cannot live with her. We do not get along when we live together. There are always issues and she always feels mistreated, even when I just want minor boundaries as an adult human. I can't take it. I can't talk to her because she thinks boundaries and mental health are ridiculous and that I'm just being cruel to her. She said she wanted to come up in my area for the weekend to look for places and that she would stay in a gross rundown hotel just for the time being, which again is just her attempt at guilt tripping me. So I said that she could spend just the weekend here to go look for places so that she doesn't have to waste money on a hotel, but I honestly have a bad feeling that she's going to come here and try to stay and then freak out on me when I repeat why it won't work, and I just want my own space to live in as an adult. Now, because of this, she says she doesn't know why she's even alive anymore, and guilt trips me even more because I don't want her to live with me. Am I wrong for thinking that's a bit much? She makes me feel like I'm a horrible person for not being fine with whatever she wants. I really wish I could tell her to just take a break from my brother's partner, stay with my other brother for maybe a week, a couple days at my place as long as she doesn't get pissed off and melt down, and then go back to my brother's partner and set some kind of boundaries or expectations, especially about things like shared spaces and items, etc. Like an adult. But I just know that she's gonna act crazy if I suggest it. She can't have a conversation like that. It's either let her do whatever she wants, or else you are a horrible, cruel person for telling her not to, or even feeling any type of way, because she's done so much for you and all this other crap. I honestly just need help. The weekend hasn't even started yet, but I'm feeling so drained because I seriously don't know what to do. Dude, you know for a fact the second she gets up there, she's gonna be like, okay, I'm moving in, because it sounds like your mom is actually the problem here and no one else. Think about it. Nobody wants to be around her. She's always causing arguments. She's literally just causing so many problems in so many people's lives. To me, there's just a bunch of red flags all over the place in this post. And it all stems back to your mom being overbearing and weird, exactly the way you described her. So in my opinion, if she's coming up to visit, you better be prepared to tell her, no, you cannot live here. I wouldn't even go as far as being like, okay, you could stay here for a few days, because trust me, this is going to turn into a few weeks and then a few months. She's going to settle in there and then you're never going to get rid of her, dude. So yeah, this is going to be a weird situation no matter how you approach it, because your mom does not sound stable. And this is not a situation I would ever want to be in. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. My restaurant job laid me off even though I did nothing wrong according to my manager. And now I'm kind of stunned because I seriously just don't know what to make of this. Here's what's going on. Okay, so I walked into work 3 days ago where my manager pulled me outside and said that they had let me go. Now I was completely blindsided and I asked if I did anything wrong. He said I did absolutely nothing wrong and that they're just making front of house changes and want to transition more into fine dining, and that the owner didn't think that it was a good fit, which really confuses me because I literally worked at a fine dining place right before I got my job there, and they absolutely knew that. I mean, that's one of the reasons why they hired me. At first, I thought it was because I was the last in, first out type of situation, because we have been getting pretty overstaffed, and technically I am the newest, but that doesn't make any sense because a new server they hired 2 weeks ago is staying over me. Apparently, I'm not the only server who got cut either, so that's kind of giving me some peace of mind as well. Now, I will admit there were some times I was frustrated with this job, all because of favoritism when it came to who got certain shifts and some of the shift numbers. It is a small place and we're all around the same age, so the manager is friends with a lot of the staff outside of work. I hung out with them sometimes, but I just wasn't one of those people who vibe with him, I guess. It definitely showed in the schedule sometimes because of how unequal the shift numbers were per week there, as well as who got bartending shifts, etc. But you know what? I sucked it up because it was good money. I will also admit that my schedule did become very limited to only over the weekends recently because of grad school starting. So I wonder if that had anything to do with it as well, but I honestly just don't know. So does anyone know if it was just the multiple factors I listed, or is it something that they're just not telling me? It just sucks because despite its flaws, this was still my favorite serving job I've ever had. What should I do? Okay, honestly, I think you might be reading a little bit too much into this, because from the sounds of it, it does seem like they're just going into fine dining and they had to trim some of the fat when it comes to like the employees. So if they're saying that you did nothing wrong, then in my opinion, I would just run with that. I would ask for a letter of recommendation just to have like visual written proof that yeah, I did a good job, and then I would move forward from there and be like, okay, I guess I'm looking for another job. But either way, I'm sorry you got laid off, and hopefully this works out for you in the future. I told someone that their girlfriend tried to cheat, and my girlfriend is now blaming me for their relationship ending. And honestly, at this point, I'm not sure if I made a mistake or what to do. Here's what's going on. Okay, so it was my girlfriend's birthday at the weekend, and she planned to go out for drinks, food, and then to a club. And the people in attendance were me, her, and a few of her friends. The night was going well, and we were all having a good time. We get to the club, and one of her friends starts dancing with a random guy. She has his hands around him and goes to kiss him, but some other friends drag her away. She tries the same thing with some other guy, but he rejects her as well. Well, I mentioned to my girlfriend that her friend's boyfriend has a right to know what she's doing, but my girlfriend said to drop it and that it wasn't our business. I then told my girlfriend that I was going to message him. I said I was going to let him know exactly what his girlfriend is doing, but she tells me to leave it. She said it's not even like I'm in a relationship with him. Well, I went ahead and I messaged him, and the next morning my girlfriend asked me if I did it, and I just told her yeah, I did. And she said he's broke up with her friend and they got into an argument about it when she got home. I pointed out it's her friend's fault and that it's the consequences of her own actions, but my girlfriend said it caused their relationship to end. So honestly, how would you handle this situation? Because right now I don't know what to do. Okay, holy crap, I can't believe your girlfriend is saying this. First of all, you're not crazy for calling this out and like reporting it to the boyfriend, because if I found out my girlfriend was doing that, I absolutely would want to know. Like, dude, this is unacceptable. Your girlfriend is 100% in the wrong. Like, does she really think this is something you should drop and be like, it's none of our business, let's look the other way? Because this is unacceptable. Like, dude, you can't possibly be okay with this. It also kind of makes me wonder, is the girlfriend doing that to the original poster? Like, I don't know about you, but that is really sketchy, and that is a massive red flag. Clearly, the girlfriend is okay with cheating happening if nobody says anything and we all just kind of look the other way. Like, that's not okay, man. Like, what's going on right now? She literally would rather hide her friend's cheating than actually do the right thing. And seriously, it is crazy that she's trying to blame you for that relationship falling apart, because this is not your fault. This is literally her friend's fault and no one else's. So no, you're not in the wrong, and you're definitely not the jerk, because this was the right thing to do regardless of what your girlfriend says. My best friend learned the hard way why you don't steal my snacks, as I set him up for failure in a hilarious fashion after he stole one too many Cheetos off of my desk. Here's how I did it. Okay, so my roommate has this terrible habit of just borrowing my stuff, and the borrowing usually happens with my food. I'll grab some snacks, leave them in my room, and by the time I'm craving them, they're just completely gone. Last week, I splurged on a giant bag of flaming hot Cheetos. They were my special treat after a rough week. I put them in my room with a note that literally said, "Jake, I will end you if you eat these." And naturally, they disappeared the next day. Now, I'm not into yelling or drama. I prefer petty revenge instead. So I came up with the most harmless but glorious prank I possibly could. You see, Jake has a desk job and hates getting up once he sits down. So the night before, while we were all hanging out, I snuck into his backpack and filled the entire bottom pocket with a bunch of loose Cheetos. I then crushed them into Cheeto dust too, so it was extra messy. The next morning, he grabs his laptop and notes like usual. But what he didn't realize is that he had a meeting with his boss later. He reaches in his bag at work and then bam, bright orange Cheeto apocalypse all over his important paperwork and laptop. I then got a furious text message of him saying, "Dude, what did you do to my bag?" And needless to say, he was mad for a day, but then admitted it was fair play. And so far, he's stopped stealing my snacks, and hopefully that stays that way, because this is absolutely something I could do again in the future. Okay, I love this because not only is this hilarious, but also your friend literally said, okay, this is totally fair. Like, it's one thing to get petty revenge and not really have any kind of resolution, but it's the fact that the friend's like, okay, yeah, this is completely fair. Like, that part is hilarious in my opinion, and I love the way this ended. Am I the jerk for putting my foot down with my mother-in-law after she literally has been very invasive about her religion in my house? Here's what's going on. Okay, so my husband and I have been together for 12 years, and his family is extremely religious, and I don't have an issue with that. We are Catholic, but his parents' mom, to be exact, are on another level. She goes to church 4 times a week, carrying anointed oil with them, believe any priest on YouTube, push religion on me, etc. I don't need 56,000 pictures of Jesus or Mary in home to believe in my faith. Now, when we've taken vacations and they stay with our dogs at our house, every time she stays, she puts oil on my doors. She writes a holy math equation on the door with crayon and puts rock salt in every corner of the windows in the house. She says it's all holy, but I've asked her to please stop. I don't believe in all of that stuff, and I'm good with holy water and a Bible. But here's the thing, she comes in and does it behind our backs. And then when I tell my husband, he confronts her and says that she didn't do it. My husband and I have had arguments over this, and today I discovered oil in the shape of a cross in my daughter's room on the walls, all the way to the point where it was dripping on the baseboard and the carpets. So seriously, am I the jerk for wanting to put our dogs in a dog hotel while on vacation and to take her house key away because she literally can't be respectful of our wishes? What should I do? No, you are not the jerk. This sounds incredibly intrusive because I'm right there with you. Just because someone practices their faith a little bit different than you doesn't mean they get to push it on you in such an obnoxious way. Because dude, you're spreading oil all over my walls, man. You gotta stop doing that. Stop drawing on my doors with crayon and put the rock salt anywhere else but my house. Like, I don't care how religious you are. That's just intrusive and very disrespectful. So no, you're not the jerk, and I really think you're in the right in this situation. My mom is controlling literally every aspect of my life, and after dealing with this for so long, I'm now at my breaking point and I seriously just don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. I want to start off by saying that I'm a 17-year-old female and I am so done with my mother. She is very overbearing and just completely controlling. A great example of this is when she pulled me from school in 4th grade to homeschool me, thinking that she had the knowledge to homeschool me without any kind of curriculum. Well, needless to say, she was not. I had to teach myself everything through YouTube when she was sleeping because I wasn't allowed to have YouTube until 10 or 11 o'clock. I'm graduating early this year in November and she hates this. She knows when I turn 18, I am leaving, and she hates the idea of not having control over me anymore. She has tried to convince me to take a gap year by trying to bribe me with stuff like paying for my tattoos when I turn 18, promising she'll pay for my piercings even though she won't, and even saying that she'll let me dye my hair. But I honestly could not care about one of those things that she's offering. I've been dead set on leaving since I was 13 years old. I worked my butt off in school to graduate with a 3.8 GPA and a year early. She also won't let me get a job that I would be at longer than a few hours on the weekend, like it's some fun activity that she's rewarding me with. So I normally do my schoolwork at night so that she can't make me feel bad for being ahead. Well, she eventually caught on, and she's now making me put my phone and laptop in her room at night. I'm honestly going crazy, and I seriously just don't know what to do. Oh man, I feel so bad for the original poster. This is so obnoxious. You mean to tell me that your mom pulled you out of school so that she could homeschool you, and yet here you are not being homeschooled? Like, this is so stupid. This is obnoxious, this is really dumb, and I just can't believe that she's doing that to you. It also doesn't help the fact that you're literally having to do all this on your own. You're going to YouTube to learn everything, you're having to stay up late just so she doesn't get in the way, and throughout all of this, she's seriously trying to discourage you from graduating early. So seriously, if no one's ever said it, your mom's an idiot and you are absolutely on the right track. And hopefully you're able to get out of there sooner than later. Am I the jerk for telling my sister-in-law that I don't want to pay for her dog that she literally manipulated us into taking in the first place? Because right now this whole scenario is crazy and I just don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. Okay, so my sister-in-law and her husband got a puppy that is a restricted breed. They live somewhere where aggressive restricted breeds are not allowed, and they were aware of that when they purchased her, but I guess they were planning on hiding her and got her regardless of their location. Well, one night my husband and I get a phone call of her freaking out. She was frantically asking us to take her dog. She said, "Oh, we have to get her out tonight. I'll drive her to you." For reference, they live 8 hours away. And on top of that, they have a newborn baby. Now, we didn't want to take the dog because we have 4 cats. We are cat people. We like it calm and peaceful. And when we told her that, she's like, "Well, get rid of your cats." And it's like, are you kidding me? Excuse me? Well, fast forward and we crumble under the manipulative pressure and we take the dog in. We were planning on keeping her, but my sister-in-law wanted us to pay $1,500 for her. Apparently, they got her for $5,000. Now, I thought that was steep, seeing as we did her a favor, but we were keeping her, so it was whatever, I guess. Well, fast forward 1 week, and we realized that we are not cut out for this. We don't have a fenced-in yard, and my sister-in-law lied to us about her being potty trained. She vomited on my couch and crapped and went to the bathroom all over my house, and overall was just super destructive, which, like, obviously that's gonna happen. She is a puppy, but the point is my sister-in-law lied to us about her behavior. We then decided it would be best for the dog to rehome her, just to have a permanent home with a fenced-in yard and plenty of space for exercise. I searched for the right person for like 3 weeks, and eventually I found a perfect fit, and she's now with them. So we talked to my sister-in-law on the phone, and we told her we rehomed her for like $100, and she was like, "Are you kidding me?" And now she's getting incredibly angry. She said to us, "Okay, well, when am I getting paid?" Like, she doesn't even care about the dog. She just wants the money. So my husband and I were like, "Look, it doesn't make sense for us to pay you." And it's right here that she started freaking out, and she literally started swearing at me. She then called back and apologized, but only because my mother-in-law made her. She then proposed that we pay a lesser amount and that we can pay in monthly payments if we want to. And when she said this, I was honestly shocked, and I was really put on the spot. So with all things in mind, I crumbled, and I said, "I guess that's fine, but it's not fine. I don't think it makes any sense to pay her anything." So seriously, am I the jerk in any way, shape, or form with this situation? Because right now I really don't know what to do. Okay, first of all, I don't think you're the jerk for rehoming the dog. Like, that does make sense, and I think if I was in your shoes, I would have done the same thing. Like, you're not equipped to take care of this dog, and it would only be doing it a disservice. But I will say, you're out of your mind for caving into this lady over and over again. Like, seriously, think about it. Her lack of planning is always an emergency for you. She not only made you pay over $1,000 for that dog, and by the way, I can guarantee you that dog did not cost that much, but also now she's trying to be like, "You need to pay me in monthly payments. That's the only way to make this right." And you're meaning to tell me that you're agreeing to this? Like, dude, stand up for yourself. Don't sit there and take this crap, and most especially, don't pay her a single dime. So while I don't think you're the jerk for rehoming the dog, I do think you're out of your mind if you actually start paying her any money. Because in my opinion, you've already paid way too much and she does not deserve another cent. Am I the jerk for not knowing where the car is parked at the airport? Because my wife freaked out at me in a way that honestly has really started to bother me. And at this point, I seriously just don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. So my wife and I have 3 kids, and she wanted to travel for summer vacation. I'm not a fan of traveling, but I told her just pick the city that you like, because I know how much she enjoys it. We decided to pack a week before, but that week I was busy at work covering for my manager and mentally overwhelmed with the potential job change. Every evening I came home late and I found her on her phone for hours, and yet still nothing was packed. So we spent the weekend packing. I finished my bag early and I kept asking her if she needed help, but she kept saying, "No, I just need to put the kids' clothes away." So just to help her out, I took care of the kids so that they wouldn't interrupt her. On Monday, I drove 3 hours dropping off her luggage for early check-in, and that evening, suddenly, she started crying. And I just hugged her and I stayed with her until she calmed down. Well, on the flight day, we were late. I parked at the departure terminal, and she booked the parking ticket on her phone. At the airport, she mixed up the boarding gate, and I didn't get upset, I just quickly moved us to the correct gate. The flight itself had 3 connected seats, so I sat with the kids, including the 1-year-old, so that she could finally relax. During the trip, I handled most of the baby care, namely the diapers, the milk, the showers, etc. And I did this again just to give her a break with the older kids. In multiple occasions, I would recommend that we go a specific path since I'm the one pushing the stroller, and she just says, "No, let's go the other way," which then means I have to push through a hard path with a stroller, or I've got to carry it since there's no ramp. And every time she did that, I got no apology whatsoever. After the trip, we landed at the arrivals terminal. I assumed that we would stop and ask for directions to the car, since arrival and departure terminals are often very different. I was pushing the luggage trolley with a bag in the other hand, and she saw the exit, ran out like a headless chicken, and said, "Here's the parking." Well, we checked 3 different parking lots, and she was running ahead while I struggled to keep up with the luggage. After the 3rd wrong parking lot, she finally snapped and looked at me and said, "Do something, find the car." I then asked an airport employee for help, and they guided us to the car, and it literally just took 5 minutes. I asked for the parking ticket to exit, but she simply couldn't find it. And then after 10 minutes of searching, we had to get help from security just to leave the lot. It was around 9:00 p.m. with an hour drive home, and she stayed mad and silent the entire ride home. The next day, I sat down with her and I asked what I did wrong, and she said I should have thought to find the car beforehand. But I pointed out that I had suggested that we ask after the first wrong lot, but she refused by saying, "Well, there's no time, we need to act." She then said she was stressed from the trip and her work the next day, which then just led to her breakdown. But I was under stress too, and I still stayed calm throughout the entire thing. My thought was that if I didn't find the car parking beforehand, then you didn't find the parking ticket beforehand either. But this is like the double standard life that we live in. So seriously, am I the jerk here? Because right now I'm incredibly frustrated and I don't know what to do. Yeah, you described it best, dude. You live in a double standard. It seems like you're supposed to be responsible for everything, and despite that, your wife is still allowed to like freak out and blame you for like things not going right. And that's really weird and just completely not fair. So no, you're not the jerk here. You literally did everything you could to help her out, and instead she was just being super ungrateful and panicking for no reason. Because if she simply asked for for help from someone in the airport, this literally would have been solved so much faster. My entitled toxic ex cheats on me and then breaks up with me, saying that he only broke up with me after how angry I was when I found out he cheated on me. So I got some revenge by exposing exactly what he did to all of his coworkers and pretty much anybody on my Instagram. And now his job's on the line, as there's a good chance he's going to be replaced in the band that he plays in professionally. And at this point, I really don't know if I made a mistake or if I'm in the right. Here's how it all went down. Okay, to make a long story short, I'm a 27-year-old female and I met a musician who's 38 years old that's very well known in this city's music scene. And while we both perform, he's the one who does it full time. I've only been in the music scene for like a year and a half, and Quinn, not his real name, has been a working musician for almost a decade. We met at a jam and hit it off immediately. And although we started off as just friends, we started dating months into our friendship. At this point, my feelings are so strong, and I love him and he says he loves me, but we've had a bit of a turbulent friendship and got worse into the relationship. He struggled with taking criticism and often denied what I was talking to him about, leaving me still hurt and feeling crazy, and I progressively got more angry the more this happened. I eventually find out that he had cheated and lied about breaking up with his girlfriend, and he was also seeing another woman, with Quinn also admitting to me that he had not been using protection. I then ended up getting really angry, and he breaks up with me because of my anger. So I get even more angry and I cuss him out via text messaging, like I didn't do anything crazy. Even after I cuss Quinn out when he broke up with me, he says he still wants me in his life. I then question him as to why, since he says I'm too angry for him to handle, and then he gets mad at me, but he says that he still wants to talk once he's cooled off. I end up posting what happened on my Instagram, which I only have about 300 followers for, and a lot of his friends and people he's worked with see it. Since I'm pretty traumatized by the whole experience, I decide to not attend a concert that he was playing on. The band leader of that gig reaches out to me since someone sent him my story and listens to what happened in way more detail than this post and lets me know that there will be someone replacing him. Well, Quinn, my now ex, is no longer speaking to me, which is a good thing, but now I'm thinking I overreacted and I shouldn't have affected his work life. So am I the jerk for exposing my ex to his coworkers? Because right now I kind of feel bad. No, you're definitely not in the wrong here. Your ex-boyfriend literally cheated on you. He lied about breaking up with his other girlfriend, he's seeing another woman, he didn't use protection when you guys were together. Like, this guy's insane. And what he's doing is completely uncalled for. Like, I don't care who he is. And I guarantee you, the only reason he even wants to stay on good terms to some extent is because he doesn't want you talking bad about him behind his back. He doesn't want the world to know that he's a cheater, and if he keeps you quiet, then all that stays under wraps. He can still try to make you happy while also protecting his stupid career. So in my opinion, I think what he did absolutely should have been broadcast to the universe, dude. Like, seriously, this guy cheated on you. He's a piece of garbage. Because seriously, actions absolutely have consequences. And if there's some kind of fallout because of his behavior, then that's on him and not you. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to AmITheJerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. My mom constantly feels entitled to my money, as she has literally one of the worst money management skills I've ever seen in my entire life. Here's what's going on. Okay, so as the title suggests, this is not just my money that my mom feels entitled to. This is literally everybody's money. She has a victim mentality that she was dealt a horrible hand, and so now it's everyone's job to try and fix it for her. For example, if I go on any vacations with my husband, she's upset I didn't invite her, and then just gives me the silent treatment. Or she keeps hinting or joking by saying, "Oh, it's been so long since I've been on a trip." Also, anytime she needs to take a trip to visit someone, she calls all of her siblings to talk about how much she wants to visit such and such but just can't afford it. The sibling then feels bad and then offers to pay for her tickets. She even accepted plane tickets from her own niece a few times. She's also asked me if I could send money behind her husband's back, and when I said no, she flipped out and stopped talking to me for months at a time. It's also important to note that she quit her job and stayed unemployed for 3 years, even though she has no savings. The whole 3 years, she complained about not being able to afford new clothing and will always beg for money, and yet she spent hundreds of dollars on meals to impress her friends. She also lost her home due to foreclosure and expected her siblings to pick up the pieces, which they did, and one wealthy sibling gave her a loan for another down payment. She's only been living in this new house for 2 years, and now she wants to move, and that basically means she would lose money on the sale. And trust me, there is so much more I could share about my mom, because the way she acts about money is honestly so exhausting. Oh yeah, that really does sound exhausting. I feel feel really bad for the original poster. Imagine having a parent who's not self-sufficient and literally doesn't do what she needs to do to take care of herself. She's not keeping a job for years at a time, she's got no savings, and instead she goes from person to person to be like, oh, I want to take a trip so bad. Or she'll beg and plead and be like, I don't have a home to live in. Which of course goes right up until that one wealthy sibling steps in and says, I'll pay for it. Like seriously, that is so unfair and just completely crooked in my opinion. And I know for a fact I would hate having to deal with that if that was my mom. My parents are demanding that I give over my location via my cell phone anytime I'm out at night. But despite the fact that I'm 29 years old and I simply don't want to do that, they refuse to take no for an answer, leaving me in a situation where I truly don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. I'm a 29-year-old female and I still live with my parents for now while I work full time. I take some pretty hard classes, and I'm trying to save money because I'm trying to get into a really competitive master's program. I pay for all my own stuff, and honestly, I could move in with either of my brothers if I wanted to, but I'm staying here just to save money. Well, the problem is that my parents have always been strict. They want to know exactly where I'm going, who I'm with, when I'll be home, etc. They comment on my friends, my work, basically everything. And if I don't share something, my mom will push for it. I've told her personal stuff before, and then she's thrown it back in my face when she's mad. So I've learned to keep certain things to myself. They also love to lecture me about how I could be doing more or growing in the way they think I should. We just had a therapy session together, and the therapist asked how I'd feel about sharing my phone location at night. Well, I already have a 2 o'clock in the morning curfew, because as they say, this is their house, meaning that I have to follow their rules. Not long ago, my mom was giving me this list of rules in the house, namely the curfew, helping out, be happy, don't have an attitude, make them happy, etc. And I recorded her just to show my therapist. Well, she caught me, got super mad, and made me delete it in front of her. Then my dad found out and demanded I bring my phone to him right then and there. But I just said no, and then he yelled it again louder. They've even argued with me about little stuff. One time we were traveling, and I asked to sit in the front seat because I was car sick in the back. My mom likes the front to control the driver and just let out a sigh, to which my dad said I should be more accommodating. Well, I said fine, but the next time I won't go or I'll just drive myself. And my brothers have also said they feel the same way about how our parents are. But honestly, I don't want to share my location with them when I go out. I would rather just text them, but I know they'll think I'm being disrespectful or hiding something. They also make comments if I go places they don't approve of. And right now I'm honestly worried that if I agree to do this, I will regret it. So would I be the jerk if I said no? Because at this point, I really don't know what to do. Okay, you said it yourself in the beginning. You could move in with your brothers, but you don't because you want to save money. But in my opinion, I think you should move in with your brothers. Not just for the whole money part, but honestly to like save your sanity. Your parents are treating you like some kind of unruly child. You're 29 years old. Your parents have no business knowing your exact location. And that's really weird in my opinion. Like you're a grown woman, and yet they're acting like you're 17 years old and you're trying to sneak out of the house. So I don't know, man. I don't think there's ever going to be any changes from your parents, and I think the only way there will be a change is if you change your scenery and just move somewhere else. Because these people just love having some kind of control over you, and you could do way better than this. Am I overreacting by getting annoyed for being asked to accommodate a stranger's ridiculous trigger in public? Because right now I am seriously confused and I don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. Okay, I have to share this experience because it was honestly so weird. Okay, so me and my boyfriend were walking out of a public library today. We were walking beside one another, not holding hands or anything, and not drawing attention to ourselves. A random woman then walks up to me and stands really close to my face and practically whispers to me that she has a client near us that gets triggered when she sees males and females walking together. She then requests that me and my boyfriend stop walking together around her client so that she doesn't get triggered. Mind you, we don't even know where their client is, and we're just minding our own business. We're right next to the exit, so I tell the woman, who I assume is a disability support worker, that we are about to leave anyways. But she insists that me and my boyfriend distance ourselves from each other. Well, both of us are so confused that we just leave the building with him walking behind me. So am I overreacting for feeling annoyed after this encounter? I feel like this is such a ridiculous and intrusive request. I mean, I believe the word trigger has just lost all meaning. How can you be triggered by two people of the opposite sex walking together? And why would you request members of the public in a public facility to accommodate your unrealistic needs? Surely I'm not overreacting here. I mean, we are genuinely baffled by this encounter. Has anyone ever encountered something like this before? Because right now I don't know what to do. Okay, dude, there is no way I would ever take that seriously. Like if that was me, I would be like, absolutely not. Your triggers are your responsibility and not mine. And who is this lady to get in your face and be like, you guys gotta stop walking together. My client doesn't like this. It's like, I don't care what your client likes. They can look the other way. Why should I have to change my entire life for someone who clearly shouldn't be in this kind of situation in the first place? Like, does this support worker go up to every single couple and be like, you guys gotta stop walking together. You're triggering my client. When the obvious solution is for the client to get out of the way, leave the situation that's triggering them and work on their therapy. Because that's not my job. That literally is not my problem. The second anyone who has no authority over me says, you gotta change your behavior for this person. Like at that point, I'm not gonna take them seriously and I'm gonna probably like double down on what I'm doing because that is seriously ridiculous. Where I come from, I live in a free country where guess what? Men and women can walk next to each other and hold hands if they want to. I know it's scandalous, right? Watch out. So no, you're not overreacting, and honestly, if anything, you underreacted. Because you have every right to walk around any public facility however you want, especially if you're obeying the law and literally not bothering anybody. Am I the jerk for not sending $10 for Starbucks to my friend who literally is doing nothing to try and improve her life by getting a job? Because after I've been working myself into the ground working 2 jobs, I am seriously offended that she's begging me for money, and at this point, I don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so back in April, me and this old coworker lost our jobs at around the same time. At first, I felt bad for the both of us. Like, dang, we're in the same boat. We hung out a couple of times, nothing major, but I really thought that we were cool. Well, fast forward to now, and my life is basically just me working 2 jobs. And this is not because I want to, but because I have to. I am tired all the time, constantly stressing about bills, just barely holding it together. Meanwhile, she's made zero effort to find a job. Like none at all, not even pretending. She just floats around asking guys for money, and that's her whole plan. I try not to judge, but at the same time, it's hard not to when I'm out here grinding and she's not. So today, out of nowhere, she messages me and asks if I can send her $10 for Starbucks because it's her kid's birthday and she wants to get them a treat. I literally had to reread it. Starbucks for a kid? And I'm the one that she's hitting up? Like, girl, I'm over here working myself into the ground with 2 jobs, and you think that I'm the person who's gonna give you the money for cake pops? Now, it's not even about the $10. It's the fact that she hasn't done a single thing to try and change her situation. She's made asking people for money her lifestyle, and now she thinks that she can ask me as well. Meanwhile, I'm scraping just to pay my car note and keep the lights on. And I know some people will say, oh, it's her kid's birthday, have some compassion. But honestly, no. You don't need Starbucks to make a birthday special. Bake a cake at home, do a movie night, make popcorn, go to the park, something. Kids don't care if it's Starbucks specifically, but instead of putting in any effort, she'll just ask people for cash like it's nothing. I don't know, maybe I'm just salty because I'm exhausted and broke and bitter, but the audacity of her asking me for money when she hasn't even tried to get a job since April just really blows my mind. So am I the jerk? Because at this point, I'm not sure what to do. Okay, honestly, I don't blame you for a second. Your friend clearly doesn't appreciate how hard you're working and is only going to you because they see you're working and they just want some free extra cash to try and like get a treat for their kid. And it's like, dude, are you kidding me right now? If $10 is really what's hurting you, then you've got bigger problems. So no, in my opinion, I don't think you're the jerk in the slightest. This next story came from the Am I the Jerk subreddit. Check the links in the description if you would like to submit your own stories because we would love to hear what you have to say. Let's get started. Am I the jerk for telling my boyfriend that I can't be with him if he won't take our relationship public? Because even though we've been dating for almost a year, I'm honestly at a point where I seriously don't see this relationship going anywhere unless we go public in some kind of meaningful way. Here's what's going on. Okay, to start things out, I'm a 25-year-old female, and I've been dating my boyfriend, who I will call Evan, for almost a year. We met through mutual friends and we clicked instantly. We would go on long walks, have late night talks, surprise coffee drop-ins at work, etc. He's sweet, attentive, and makes me laugh until my cheeks hurt. But the only problem is that no one in his life knows that I exist. He says that he's private and doesn't like broadcasting relationships, but he also won't introduce me to his friends or family. He won't post a single picture of us and avoids going to public places near his neighborhood just in case someone sees us. Now, at first, I thought maybe he'd been burned before and just needed time, but it's been almost a year. I've told him that it hurts that I feel like a secret, especially since my friends and family all know and adore him. But last week, I finally said if we can't go public about our relationship, then I can't keep doing this. And when I did say this, he got upset and accused me of ruining something good over social media validation. I then told him it's not about likes, it's about feeling like he's proud to be with me. Well, ever since then, he's been distant. And when I told my friends about this, they're kind of split. Some of them say I'm right to want a relationship out in the open, while others think that I'm overreacting and should enjoy what we have privately. So seriously, am I the jerk for making this ultimatum? Because right now, I'm not sure if I'm in the wrong. Okay, I want to start off by saying that no, I don't think you're in the wrong because this really is a reasonable request. If you guys had just started like dating and going out and stuff like that, and it was early in the relationship, then I would understand why you don't want to go public. Like, it totally makes sense. What if it doesn't work out and you made all these like announcements and all this other stuff and blah, blah, blah. But you guys have been a thing for almost a year. Like, dude, what is going on right now? Which then then leads me to a point that a lot of people have pointed out in the comment section of this post, because over 1,000 people liked a post that basically said, oh yeah, he's hiding something. He's either hiding a wife, a girlfriend, or something from you that he doesn't want in the public. And honestly, I kind of have to agree with this to an extent. Like, he obviously doesn't want people to know about you, but it's like, wait, why? I thought you guys were happy together. Unless the original poster is like the affair partner or something like that, because it really sounds like this guy is straight up married. So no, you're not the jerk for making this ultimatum, because I think you're about to have a lot of stuff revealed to you that you're probably not ready to see. Because unfortunately, it kind of seems like your boyfriend has a secret that he's trying to hide, and I think that secret might be you. And if that is the case, then that really sucks. My boyfriend's supposed kindness is honestly making me lose my marbles, as he will go out of his way to help other people and still refuse to be invested in our relationship. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. Okay, so I feel like my boyfriend loves helping other people, and it's honestly becoming an issue. We've been together for 2 years, and it's starting to feel like all the kindness and compassion he used to show me is now reserved for his friends, his family, and total strangers. If I ask for help with something, it's like pulling teeth. We're talking a total nightmare. It takes days, weeks, months, to the point where I just do it myself, and I've largely stopped asking for help with things. But if seemingly anyone else needs him for something, he flies out the door. It's really starting to feel like he's done proving his kindness to me, and instead needs to just keep proving it to other people, if that makes any sense. This has all come to a head for me because we went to a mutual friend's party last night, and as we were on our way out, a man who is a total stranger to us asked us if we could give him a ride home. Now, normally I would say yes, but I got a bad sense about this guy, and since I was driving and it was my car, I just kindly said no and that I was sorry. My boyfriend then flashed me a look of rage, and sure enough, when we got to the car, he was angry with me for telling the guy no. He told me I was really rude and made him look bad in front of his friends. And I will admit, it probably would have been perfectly safe and fine to give this guy a ride home, but as I explained to my boyfriend, I just had a bad gut feeling, and I didn't feel bad saying no because there was no risk the guy would be driving drunk. Anyways, it's made me realize that he does this kind of thing all the time. It's like we're not allowed to say no when someone asks for something, and I end up looking like the jerk and the bad guy. I thought about this in connection with his weird need to help everyone but me, and I now feel desperate to figure this out if I can. I love my boyfriend, but lately I don't like how he makes me feel. Past efforts to communicate with him about this issue have all ended in him huffing about how I'm jealous that he has more friends than I do, which is definitely not the case, and that I must be a selfish person to try and make him feel bad about being a kind and helpful person. But I'm really not trying to make him feel bad at all. So how can I communicate the issue effectively so that my frustration is clear and I don't make him feel like I'm trying to infringe on his life and his friendships? What should I do? Okay, this is so annoying because your boyfriend sounds like one of those people who is only like kind and charitable when other people are watching. Like if there's an audience, then oh yeah, he is Mr. Charity. He'll give the shirt off his back as long as someone's watching. But clearly when the doors are closed, he absolutely will not do the same for you. You know, his girlfriend. And just look at the way he reacted when you said, no, we're not gonna give this stranger a ride home. He was more worried about how you made him look in front of his friends instead of actually helping out a stranger. Like this idiot literally showed his hand of cards and said, oh yeah, I don't actually care about helping this guy. I just care about how I look in front of my friends and you made me look bad. Like this guy's an idiot. He's not caring or compassionate. He just wants to look like he is so that other people think that about him. He wants people to say, oh, what a good guy, where he's essentially only doing this stuff to satisfy his own ego about being a good person. And honestly, the fact that he won't return that kindness to you in private is so telling in my opinion, because you should be the first person he helps out, not anybody else. And also for the record, there is nothing wrong with trusting your gut. There's no way in the world I would ever take a total stranger in my car and take him home. Like, no, I don't think so. Especially someone that I literally don't know from anywhere. Like at that point, they should call an Uber or call somebody else because I'm not going to be that person. So yeah, your boyfriend is a giant hypocrite, and the fact that he's trying to make you feel bad about this is so telling, because his image of being a good person is more important than actually being a good person. And despite the fact that the evidence is right there in front of him, he is just way too stupid to see it, and that is really sad. My girlfriend has been living with me for over 8 months now, after she was only supposed to stay with me for about 14 days just to visit. And now I've been literally paying for everything in her life, and it's honestly draining me to a point that I seriously just don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. I'm a 31-year-old male and I'm living abroad, and my girlfriend is from my home country, which is a third world country by the way, where the income is incredibly low. She came to visit me for what was supposed to be a 14-day trip, and I paid for all of her expenses during that time. But at the end of her trip, she decided not to return home. She's now been living with with me for 8 months without a job, fully financially dependent on me. Now, for the first 3 months, I didn't say anything, but then she told me that she wanted to apply for school here, to which I explained that I couldn't keep supporting her 100%. She then cried and said it was my fault that she stayed, and told me that if I truly loved her, I'd support her no matter what. It's also worth noting that her family is wealthy and could easily help her without financial strain. I then said that I could help her a little bit, but I couldn't pay for everything. She then became distant and even deleted my pictures from her phone. Anytime I brought up money, she would cry until I gave in, and eventually I agreed to support her for another 3 months. Her attitude improved, but now we're at 8 months and nothing has changed. I've told her repeatedly I can't keep doing this, but every time she gets upset and then I give in because I don't want to see her cry. She recently asked about our future, and honestly, I don't even know what my future looks like anymore. My dream is to save up enough money to start my own business, but my current 9-to-5 salary is being drained to cover both of us. I'm feeling trapped between wanting to help her and needing to protect my own financial stability. I'm starting to resent the situation, but I still love her, and I don't want to destroy the relationship. What should I do? Okay, this is crazy because if you can't see that she's using you for money, then I don't know what to tell you. Because holy crap, she is literally not your girlfriend anymore, dude. She's practically squatting and she's using you for money. Because someone in the comment section made a really good point. If her family is really that wealthy, then they could easily get her a flight home. And I gotta say, like, if I was in your shoes, I would be ending this relationship and be like, okay, you've gotta go. This is not working, you're not contributing anything, and you're literally just crying until I give you money. So yeah, this relationship doesn't make any sense. I just don't know why you would put up with this, because I think that you could do way better than this crazy lady. My entitled neighbor demands that I hand over my parking space, as he says he deserves it more simply because he's old. Even going as far as saying that I'm an entitled little jerk, and that he's gonna go to the homeowners association board and force them to switch my spot. Here's what's going on. Okay, so I live in a really pleasant condo community in a big city, and you were assigned a parking spot in the building garage based on your unit number. About a month ago, a boomer couple moved in. I had not spoken to the husband, but I have had the pleasure of chatting with the wife several times, as we seem to always catch the elevator at the same time. I then learned many things about them, like how they're retired, they're avid joggers, they love playing pickleball, and they bought the unit not so they could live there full time, but so they could be closer to their daughter. I encountered the husband for the first time this morning as I was getting out of my car, and he asked me if we could change spots. And for reference, my spot is really close to the entrance where the elevator is, and their spot is far away. I told him, no, I'm sorry, I have chronic knee and back issues, and this spot is ideal. And when I said that, he went into meltdown mode, telling me how his age should dictate parking, and that it's a slap in their face that I won't switch. He then accused me of being a spoiled, entitled little jerk, and that he's gonna bring the issue to the homeowners association board to demand that his spot is swapped. But seriously, my dude, good luck with that. Our board can't force anything. When I closed on this unit, my assigned space number is quite literally part of the deed. Now, they could have asked me nicely to swap unofficially, but again, I have chronic pain issues, so I can just nicely say no, and that will be that. But it's now making me wonder if he's also lost it on others who have spaces close to the entrance. I just picture him spending his days roaming the garage to engage with people who he deems have the most ideal spaces, because this really was a weird situation, and I honestly don't regret saying no. Yeah, this is some weird entitled behavior, like seriously. Did this guy really think he could get in your face and be like, oh, I'm gonna get the board on you. I'm gonna make them switch the spots, just you wait. Like, dude, what's going on right now? This is some crazy crap. So yeah, this guy could stay mad, because I'm right there with the original poster. If he had simply asked me nicely, you know, after just meeting me for the first time, I would probably be more likely to like help him out in some kind of way. But it's the fact that he was immediately so aggressive about it that, in my opinion, is the very reason why I would never help him out, because his attitude is absolutely ridiculous. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to AmITheJerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Am I the jerk for wanting to evict my boyfriend after I literally caught him lying so many times? Because at this point, I'm not sure if he's cheating on me or not, and I honestly just don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. I'm a 28-year-old female, and I've been living with my boyfriend for almost 2 years. Things were good at first, but lately there have been way too many coincidences. It started a few months ago when I found a random hoodie in our laundry that definitely wasn't mine or his. When I asked him about it, he said it was a friend's hoodie, but he still couldn't remember which friend it belonged to. And so with that, I just kind of let it go. But then 2 weeks later, I smelled perfume on his pillow. And this was a brand of perfume that I definitely didn't own. But when I asked him about it, he just laughed it off and said, "Oh, you're overthinking." Then fast forward to last week. I came home from work and noticed our living room camera was unplugged. He then swore that he just accidentally bumped it. And it's funny how it only happens when I'm not home. But last night was the breaking point. I was checking our trash before taking it out, and I found an empty wine bottle and 2 glasses. We don't even drink wine, and I was at my sister's all weekend. When I confronted him, he snapped, saying that I'm spying on him and trying to control him. And it was here that I told him that I want him to move out. He said that if I do that, I'd be throwing away a good relationship over my paranoia. His mom even texted me this morning telling me to stop making up stories. And I'm honestly just so exhausted. So am I the jerk for giving him an ultimatum to leave? Because right now I really don't know what to do. Oh man, in case it's not totally clear to you, yes, your boyfriend is 100% cheating on you. This guy's unplugging the camera to the front room. He's got other women's perfume on his pillow. This guy's got hoodies that belongs to a friend that he just can't identify. Like, I'm sorry, this guy is literally racking up red flags left and right. So no, you're not the jerk for telling him to get out. He's clearly cheating on you, and he's absolutely gaslighting you in the process. And I know if I was in your shoes, I would trust my gut and I would get that loser out of my life. My entitled neighbor keeps blasting her radio at 6 o'clock in the morning every time she wakes up, disturbing my peace in a way that has caused me to complain multiple times. But after she refused to listen to me and be a reasonable human being, I decided to get nasty by getting some petty revenge, where I literally rented a device so that I could jam her radio, resulting in her eventually stopping. Here's how I did it. A number of years ago, I lived in Montreal in a rather thin-walled apartment. My neighbor's kitchen was against my bedroom, and at some point, the absolute delight of a human being started turning her radio on shortly before 6 o'clock in the morning. Now, I tried to talk to her, and I asked her to simply move it away from the shared wall or to not use it. And as you can probably guess, there was no change in their behavior. I then sent a registered letter to the landlord asking for some action to be taken, but again, nothing changed. Now, at the time, I was studying electrical engineering, and I was learning about how radios worked. Internally to the radio, whatever frequency you're listening to gets converted to what is known as an intermediate frequency, and then the rest of the circuitry amplifies and filters this one frequency. Now, I had underused frequency generators at work, so I asked if I could borrow one for a bit. I got a few strange looks and questions, but ultimately, I got permission to borrow one for a few weeks. I then set it up in my bedroom, did the basic settings for an unmodulated frequency, matching the intermediate frequency for the neighbor's radio. I then jammed a rudimentary antenna in the back, and then I went right to bed. Well, when I was woken up by the neighbor's radio, instead of just jamming in earplugs and trying to go back to sleep, I jumped up and switched on the frequency generator, and then suddenly there was silence from my neighbor's radio. I then modulated my signal to an extremely annoying tone, but my earplugs filtered all of it out. Now, knowing that this could interfere with others and also be illegal, I tested it against my own radio, which was about 5 meters away, and it wasn't impacted at all. Now, did it have better shielding against my attack, or was it just the distance? But honestly, I don't really care, because my neighbor stopped using her radio, and I returned the frequency generator after a couple of weeks. So I will happily take that win any day of the week. Oh man, this is hilarious in my opinion. This guy literally broke the law because he was like, "Oh, you want to be loud? Cool, I'm gonna jam your radio." Like, my man's probably committing a war crime of some kind. Like, seriously, what's going on right now? So yeah, good for you for finally getting some peace and quiet, because this neighbor was being incredibly obnoxious. My entitled friend literally drops me as a friend and ghosts me after I refuse to give her my Disney Plus login information, leaving me baffled as to what our friendship actually meant in the first place. Here's how it went down. Okay, so this happened a few years ago, and at the time I never clocked it as entitled behavior, but man, I wish I did. And to start out, yes, I know I was naive, but please go easy on me. I was a lonely girl doing online university. Now, I had a friend in university during COVID, and we would chat all the time, and totally would not do our online tests together or anything like that, even though we definitely did. For the most part, the friendship was equal with give and take until it came to when she mentioned a show that she wanted to watch on Amazon Prime Video. I had an account and she didn't have one, so I gave her my login information so she could use it for that show. After a bit, we didn't talk as much as before since she graduated earlier than I did. And on top of that, we didn't really have any classes together anymore either. But after a few months of not talking much at all, she asked me if I still had my Disney Plus account, and I said yes. And it was here that she proceeded to ask for my login information, to which I literally just said no. I mean, I already gave you my Amazon Prime login information for free. She said that didn't have the show that she wanted to watch, and she really wanted my Disney Plus login, to which I said I just just wasn't comfortable giving that out for free and even offered to split the cost of the account with her because mine was going to expire and I didn't know if I wanted to renew it. Well, after I didn't give her my login information, she literally ghosted me right then and there. And before anyone might ask, yes, I did change my Amazon Prime login information because there's no way I'm going to let anyone log in and use that, especially if they're going to treat me like this. Oh, that sucks so much. I hate that kind of situation. You've got this friend that you think is cool, but then they show their true colors the second they don't get what they want. So yeah, this is definitely a lesson learned because there's no way I would ever give out my info like that, especially for someone who clearly has no interest in ever helping you in any way, shape, or form. Am I the jerk for getting my colleague in trouble after he started calling me his work wife? Because despite the fact that I tried to explain this to him in a private setting, he still refused to get the point, forcing me to go to his boss and put him in his place. Here's what happened. Some time ago, I was assigned by my European-based employer to work on a project at a US location. I'm a 29-year-old female and part of my assignment was training a new hire within my special area of expertise. This new guy is about 10 years older than me and is hired for a management position. However, he is in no way my superior, as I take on more of a consulting role with the local team. Well, I noticed straight away that he is very outgoing and sociable, joking around a lot with his colleagues, which is quite different from the men I'm used to as I come from a northeastern European country where the male stereotype can only be described as silent. He immediately took an interest in me and started jokingly flirting and complimenting my looks. Now, this made me uncomfortable since we are both married, and I felt it was very inappropriate. It also made me feel like he was not respecting me professionally. He would make comments like, "You look so cute when you're serious," and he would say this in such a way where it would interrupt my training sessions with him. The assignment itself was a big deal to me, and I wanted nothing more than to exceed expectations, which is why I was reluctant to bring this up and create drama. I tried ignoring his behavior, but the last straw for me was when he started calling me his work wife openly in the office. Now, I understand this term is used in a joking manner in the United States office culture, but we absolutely do not have anything similar to that in my home country. And if word would get around back home about this, I would have to explain to my husband why some random man decided to call me his wife. So to avoid this, I decided I need to put an end to the casual flirting and jokes from this man. I sat him down one-on-one and I told him in short that he has got to stop calling me his work wife. He seemed like he understood, but I was maybe being too nice or vague in my approach towards him because he acted no different the following days. And this made me frustrated, as I felt I now have to either go to my boss, which is also his boss, and risk this reflecting badly on my assignment, or risk conflict in my marriage. I ultimately decided that my marriage is more important than my job, and I told my boss about my issue. Now, luckily, my boss took me seriously and told me that he would handle it and to stop worrying about it. I'm not sure what went down after this, but the flirting and the compliments from my colleagues abruptly stopped. And you know what? I was relieved, but I also felt that my colleague acted very cold towards me after all of this went down. I still successfully finished my training sessions with him and the assignment, and I relocated back home. Now, in retrospect, I'm wondering if I overreacted due to the cultural differences between the United States and my home country. Maybe what my colleague was doing was just normal social interaction, and I somehow acted like a complete jerk, getting him in trouble with our boss for merely joking. So seriously, am I the jerk in this situation? Because right now, I'm not sure if I'm in the wrong. No, you are definitely not the jerk. This is so unprofessional. I know it might seem like, oh yeah, this is common in workplace culture, but no, this is creepy across the board. There's never a situation where calling someone your work wife or your work husband is ever going to result in anything good. If anything, it's kind of like them saying, oh yeah, I've got a crush on this person, and I probably would do something with them if I wasn't married. Like, it's a weird look, it makes things weird in the office, and it is not okay in my opinion. And sure, maybe you have different dynamics at your office and you're like, oh yeah, we do this all the time, that's my work wife or my work husband. But in my opinion, I think it's weird, I think it's towing the line, and it absolutely is going to cause drama. So no, you're definitely not the jerk for shutting this down. He was making creepy, unprofessional comments towards you, and you did not have to deal with that. Am I the jerk for asking to exchange information after this entitled Karen literally scratched my car door in the parking lot while I was sitting in it? Because this lady gave me the runaround and made me feel really bad for even suggesting this. And at this point, I really don't know if I made a mistake. Here's what's going on. Okay, to start things out, someone scratched my car door in a parking lot as I was literally sitting in the car. I then asked to exchange information, to which the driver agreed. We exchanged phone numbers and I showed her a copy of my insurance. However, when I asked for her insurance, she told me to speak to her husband and that her husband would take care of all of it. Well, her husband was not with her, and at first I thought she didn't have insurance, but it turns out she didn't want to share the information. I then insisted that she share her insurance information, and she suggested that we call the police. She then told me how her daughters ran into the same situation and that it was settled privately rather than going through insurance, which is something she preferred. She was concerned that her insurance rate would go up, and the increase would be hard on her as she is either retired or retiring. Now, I don't know if I would be able to take her word on settling privately, since she originally agreed to exchange information, but still did not want to share her insurance. She finally handed over her insurance as my partner is speaking with the police. I also asked for her driver's license, and she told me no because she's already given me enough information. Now, the police took a while, so my partner and I decided we didn't want to wait anymore. We called the police again to let them know that we got the insurance information, but the driver was uncooperative about sharing her license. The driver then raised her voice about how we gave misinformation and then charged at my partner as we were on the phone with the police. The police arrived soon after that, and she then asked the police if she should share her license with me. Well, of course, the police responded yes, reiterating that we should exchange insurance information as well as our driver's license to one another. So we exchanged our driver's license and we went our separate ways. Now, the scratch is noticeable, but it's not that big. So I just want to clarify that I don't know if I'll make any repairs. However, I want to have the information should I later decide to follow through with the claim. As we were waiting for the police, she repeatedly called me a bad person, which honestly really has me thinking, am I the jerk for just trying to exchange information? Because right now I'm honestly not sure if I made a wrong choice. No, this is some weird intimidation tactic. This lady literally wanted you to feel stupid for being like, hey, I need your information. Which, guess what? That's exactly what you should do in that situation. She literally made it harder for herself by being like, oh, we'll just call the police then. I'm not giving you any info. We're gonna handle this privately. And then she'll give you a fake number and run off and you never hear from her again. Like, that's what she really wanted to do. She didn't want to give out the insurance or even her information. She wanted to give you a fake number and then run for the hills. So no, you didn't make a mistake, because honestly, I would have done the exact same thing, especially with the sketchy way that she was acting. Am I the jerk for letting my fiance uninvite his sister to our wedding after she said some blatantly nasty things to me that honestly have really offended me? Here's how it went down. I'm a 25-year-old female, and I met my now fiance 5 years ago, and we started dating really quick. A year into our relationship, we met each other's families. My family loves him because of how he treats me, and he's honestly the most wonderful guy. His family also likes me, but the only person I've really had problems with is his older sister. You see, ever since I've met his family, his sister has always had a problem with my weight. I've always been on the bigger side, and for the longest time, it took a really long time to gain self-confidence. So when meeting his family, his sister has always made some remarks about how I should do something about my weight, even going as far as to directly tell me that I'm too ugly and fat for her brother, and that she doesn't know why he would settle for less. Now, my fiance has never heard of any of these things, because for starters, she's always been good at hiding her disgust of me from him, and secondly, I never told him because I didn't want to cause trouble between them. I mean, he adores his sister. Well, we're getting married in 3 months, and 2 weeks ago, I finally found my dream dress. I went to my fitting with my mother, my future mother-in-law, and sister-in-law, and me as well as my mom and mother-in-law were simply gushing at how perfect the dress was for me. But my future sister-in-law was looking at me with what I can only describe as disgust. Then she went on a long rant about how I would of course settle for less, because according to her, nothing good would actually fit me. She went on to detail everything that was wrong with me, going on and on about how I looked. And even though both of our moms were trying to stop her, she just didn't stop, and it got worse with her little crash out. It got to a point where I had to stop everything and just leave. Before I even got home, my mother had already called my fiance and had told him about what had happened. So understandably, he was furious. He sat me down and asked me about it, and for the first time in 4 years, I just told him everything. We then ended up spending the rest of the day crying, with him profusely apologizing for never noticing and him promising that he was going to fix it. Now, what I didn't expect was him waking up the next morning and deciding to uninvite his sister to our wedding. His exact words were, "A wedding is a celebration of love between the bride and groom, and the people who go to celebrate them." He said that since she clearly cannot be happy for us, she can save both her time and money and just not go. And then he said that was that. Now, I didn't expect it, and when I asked him why he would do that, he told me that yes, he loves his sister and will continue to do so, so, but he will not compromise my day and my happiness just because his sister is small-minded. Now, I had no problem with that, but his family, however, all called me to apologize on her behalf and ask him to please reconsider. At first I refused, but now after his mother called me to tell me that I'm being a selfish witch and that I'm already tearing her family apart, I'm now starting to have second thoughts. So am I the jerk here? Because honestly, I don't know what to do. No, you're not the jerk here. You know what's actually happening right now? The mom, for the first time in her life, is actually having to deal with the repercussions of her nasty daughter. That's all that's going on right now. People have whistled past the graveyard probably for years about this nasty woman's attitude, and now someone's finally putting their foot down and they're seeing the repercussions of it. And they're only freaking out because they're like, oh man, now I have to deal with this. We've walked past this for so long. This is your fault. And it's like, dude, wait a second. You didn't do anything. Seriously, to the original poster, you have not done a thing. These people are so toxic, saying that you're a selfish witch and that you're the one that's tearing the family apart because you haven't done anything. You literally just love your fiance and you want to get married. And yet your brother's sister is just sitting there like, oh, you're so ugly. I can't stand you. And it's like, for what? Just because you might be a little bit overweight? Like, that's crazy in my opinion. So no, you're not tearing any family apart. And you are absolutely not at fault for his sister getting uninvited to your wedding. If they've really got a problem with that, then they can address that with his sister herself, because you have nothing to do with her crazy outburst. My sister has basically ruined my mother's life, forcing her to babysit her kid in a way that is truly obnoxious, wondering how my mom is ever going to get out of this. Here's what's going on. Okay, so my mother is nearing retirement and works 4 days a week, and she could go down to 3, but she doesn't want to because she thinks my sister will make her look after her kid. She already looks after my niece on her only day off, so she can't even do anything productive. My niece is 2 years old, but with all due respect, she is a brat and is very manipulative already. I wasn't there when this happened, but I heard from my mother that my niece was drawing on the walls and was told to stop, and she said, "But I'm drawing hugs and kisses for you." And on another occasion, she was out with my mother and grandmother, and she said that my grandmother was annoying her. And when she gets told off, she always says to whoever told her off, "Are you very happy?" in a sort of like baby voice. She also hits, bites, and is just a disaster in general. She is very intelligent for her age and never shuts up. And I really wish she wasn't so verbal. I don't know what other children are like that at this age, but every other one I've seen talks nowhere near as much as my niece. My sister asks our parents to look after her at every opportunity, and my mother is a professional victim and doormat, so she always, and I mean always, says yes. But then she just complains about it the entire time, because she says if she says no, it will make it seem like she doesn't love her grandmother, which is completely ridiculous. And then she complains that she never has any free time and should be retired, when it's entirely her fault that she's incapable of saying no and feels obligated to be a free sitter. It's just a disaster. My sister's entitled, my niece is entitled, and my mother has a victim complex that I'm not sure can ever be solved. Yeah, that sounds super obnoxious. I would hate that all the way through. Seriously, someone's kid being a brat like that would make me go crazy. Not to mention the fact that they're like, oh yeah, you have to watch them. Because I'd be like, dude, I'm not watching any kid who's gonna be acting like that. Like, you better be a clown or joking, because that's just not gonna happen. So yeah, this really is unfortunate, because it does seem like your sister is super selfish. And unfortunately, your mom is not putting down her foot, which she absolutely should be doing. An entitled Karen demands that I destroy our equipment just to fit her needs, saying that if I don't do exactly as she says, she's not only going to leave bad reviews online, but she's also going to do whatever it takes to get me fired. And I'm honestly still baffled, because this was the worst secondhand embarrassment I've ever experienced in my life, especially from a crazy Karen who literally did not know what she wanted. Here's how it all went down. Okay, to start things out, I work part-time at a local print shop while finishing school. It's usually pretty chill. I mean, people come in, make copies, print stuff off, they pay for their stuff, and then they leave. But last week, this entitled Karen came in and really tested my patience. She walked in with this massive stack of papers, at least 200 pages thick. She then puts it down on the counter and says that she needs it stapled. I look at this thing and it's clearly way too thick for our regular stapler. We have heavyweight staplers for bigger jobs, but this was beyond even that. I politely explained that our stapler can't handle something that thick, and then suggested that she might want to use binder clips or get like a spiral bound instead. Well, she tells me that's ridiculous and that I need to just make it work. I explain again that it would literally break our stapler stapler, to which I then show her how thick the stack is compared to what the stapler can handle. Well, this entitled Karen then demands that I try anyway, where she says that when it breaks, the shop should give her a heavy-duty stapler to take home so that she can finish the job herself. She then said it's our fault for having inadequate equipment. Well, I just tell her absolutely not, and that if she really wants this stapled, she needs to find somewhere with industrial binding equipment. Well, when I said that, that's when she really lost it. She started yelling about customer service and how small businesses like ours don't deserve to succeed if we literally can't handle simple requests. She then demanded to speak to my manager, who wasn't even there, and threatened to go online and leave bad reviews. But worse still, she said she would tell all of her friends not to use our store, and I thought to myself, oh, please do, lady. The whole time, by the way, there's a line forming behind her, and people are clearly getting annoyed. This one guy finally speaks up and calmly tells her to either accept the alternatives or leave, because she is holding everybody up. She then spun around and told him to mind his own business, but you could tell she was getting very embarrassed. She grabbed her stack of papers and stormed out, but not before announcing loudly that she was going to corporate and that she would make sure I got fired, which is funny because this is not a chain that you can do that with. About an hour later, my manager comes back and I tell him exactly what happened. And you know what? He just laughs and says that he got a voicemail from some angry Karen ranting about staplers and demanding we deliver a new one to her house. Thankfully, he deleted it and we never really heard from this lady ever again. Okay, seriously, one of the comments of this post literally said, get a nail gun. That'll solve all her problems, and I think they might be right. Literally just shoot a nail gun through the papers and be like, here you go, thank you so much for your business. I can't stand people who act like this, by the way, who like literally don't see reason, and they're like, no, you need to break your equipment to give me what I need. If she's really got something that thick, then dude, just punch holes in it and put it in a binder. Like, that's gonna be way more effective than bothering everybody and being like, no, you need to destroy your equipment to make me happy, and if you don't, I'm gonna get you fired. So yeah, this Karen was being super dumb, and I'm so glad your manager was on your side, because the secondhand embarrassment from this was just too much, and I can only imagine being stuck in that situation. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Am I the jerk for refusing to lend my friend money after I literally just paid off my own debt that I've been dealing with for a long time? Because right now, this friend is saying that I'm being stingy, and at this point, I really just don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. Okay, to start things out, I owe my mother around $7,000 because she paid part of my rent while I was in college, but I have now paid her back since last month, and I'm now free from any debt that I had. I always hated being in debt because it tarnishes my freedom of thought. I was really strict with finances, meaning I had no vacations, no fancy dinners, and I was cutting out all unnecessary costs. But finally, last month, I made my last payment, and it honestly felt like a huge burden was lifted off my shoulders. Now, 2 days ago on Friday, one of my closest friends, who is also generous, asked if I could lend him $1,000 since he is struggling with some bills at the moment. But the problem is that he has always been bad at managing his money. He does a lot of trips, buys a lot of clothing, buys a lot of bottles in the club, etc. Meanwhile, I live a pretty minimalistic lifestyle. I live in my own apartment and mostly cook at home with very rare occasional restaurant visits. So basically, I'm trying to exclusively spend money when I see others. And this is for when I'm ever asked if I want to meet up or hang out in some kind of way. Because when I'm alone, I'm living off of less than $500 a month if I can help it. Now, here's the issue at hand. He has taken care of the accounts when going out a few times already that were moderately high, all because of where he's taking me to, which are places that I didn't even want to go to in the first place. I do like him because he always wants me to have a great time and has asked me out several times, but I just can't shake the nagging thought that to lend him money now would ruin everything I had worked for. So when he asked me for $1,000, I hesitated. I told him honestly that I was not comfortable lending out money since I had just gotten debt-free myself. He then immediately got super upset, saying that after all the times he supposedly looked out for me and paid for stuff when we went out, that the least I could do was return the favor. And honestly, I was kind of convinced of this myself, but I tried explaining that it was not being generous, it was a principle. I mean, I hate being in debt, and I don't want to wait for someone else to even possibly pay me back. I also know how he spends money, and it can be crazy. Well, now he's giving me the cold shoulder, while another mutual friend said that I was being stingy when thinking of all the times he treated or spent money on me in the past. From my point of view, those nights were his choice. I never asked him to cover me or even get bottle service. But with that being said, I cannot deny that he has been generous in the past, and I genuinely do not want to be ungrateful. So seriously, am I the jerk for refusing to lend my friend some money, even though he's treated me many times before? What should I do? No, this is absolutely weird in my opinion. From the sounds of it, this guy doesn't actually like you in that way, but instead he sees your friendship as transactional. I don't know about you, but if I'm treating my friends for a night out and I'm paying for what they're getting, then that's a cost I'm willing to take on so that they can have a good time. I'm not gonna hold that over their head later on and be like, but what about all the times I've treated you? You should at least give me $1,000. That's just a little creepy in my opinion and just completely unnecessary. For me, it would almost feel like I set my friends up to be like, oh, now you have to give me money. Look at all the times I took you out for dinner. You don't want to be ungrateful, do you? I don't know. That would really leave a bad taste in my mouth and I would really hate to have to deal with that. So no, I don't think you're the jerk. I think you're well within your right to turn this friend down, especially with the fact that you're finally able to save money. And if they can't understand that, then honestly, they can go to the friends that think you're being stingy and ask them for money instead of you. Because clearly these people have the moral high ground and I would love to see if they actually back that up. Am I the jerk for telling my sister that if she has a problem with how I'm raising her kid, she can literally step up and raise her herself? Because my sister has not been very involved in her daughter's life, leaving me and my parents to basically raise the kid while my sister does absolutely nothing. Here's what's going on. I'm a 19-year-old male and I live at home with my parents, my 24-year-old sister who I will call Ruth for the sake of the story, as well as her nearly 2-year-old daughter who I will call Scarlett for the sake of the story as well. Now Ruth isn't exactly the greatest mother. She does whatever she wants to do, and Scarlett is more of an afterthought than anything to her. My parents and I are basically raising Scarlett at this point, and when Ruth decides that she wants to be a mother, she gets involved. I don't love it, but I have taken on a lot of responsibilities with my niece because I want her to have the best life possible, and I want positive influences to guide her. Yesterday morning, my niece was calling for me when she woke up from a nap, so I did the usual routine of changing her, reading to her, and then getting her a snack. About halfway through her snack, Ruth came downstairs, and when she noticed that I had given her bananas, she got mad. She said that I shouldn't feed her bananas because she'll just mush them into the high chair tray and it will be a bigger mess to clean up later. She said that it would make her life harder later and that I'm being very annoying. Now, when she said this, I told her that if she's got a problem with how I'm caring for and basically raising her child, then she can start looking after her herself. And also, let's face it, she probably wouldn't even be cleaning up the bananas later in the first place. When I said this, she got mad and said that I have no right to judge her parenting and that I simply do not know how hard it is being a single parent. So am I the jerk for talking to my sister like this? Because honestly, I'm still incredibly annoyed about this. Okay, I love this so much because seriously, what is your sister talking about? Dude, she's not even a parent. How can she sit there and be like, don't judge how I'm parenting my child? Because from the sounds of it, she's not doing anything. She's leaving it to you and your parents to raise this kid for her. She's not taking responsibility. She's not doing anything to be involved in the kid's life. And she's almost stepping up when it's convenient as opposed to doing it consistently like she's supposed to. Because holy crap, this kid should be calling for her mom and not for her uncle. What's going on right now? So no, you're not the jerk here. This is really stupid in my opinion. Because I 100% agree with the original poster. If your sister doesn't like the way that her kid's being raised, then guess what? She can step up and do it herself like she probably should have been doing from the very beginning. Am I the jerk for coming back home in the middle of a trip that I literally planned with all of my friends? Because now some of my friends are refusing to talk to me and saying that we can no longer be friends after I went right back home at the beginning of our trip. Here's what happened. I'm an 18-year-old female and I've been planning a trip with my friends for a bit now. We went back and forth for where to go and ended up deciding on a city in our country where people usually go on vacation. And this city is about 7 hours by car from where we live. We've been planning the trip during classes in the last year of high school, and back in the beginning of June, we paid for the buses as none of us had a license yet, as well as the apartment where we were going to stay, not to mention the aqua park entry fee as well. Now, I'm always a person who stresses too much, and since I'm the only one with experience traveling, I was the one with the most responsibilities in this trip. I had all the tickets and had made the reservations as well. I had exams in June, and I barely slept because I kept stressing about the trip. And for reference, it was at the beginning of July, right after the last exam. So on the day before, I was very nervous, and I even threw up because of how stressed out I felt. I didn't sleep very well, and I woke up late, having to rush through getting dressed just to get to the place where we were catching the bus. Now, we were taking 2 buses there. The first one was a 3.5-hour trip to the capital of the country, and then another 3.5-hour trip to our destination. Now, I was feeling very bad on the first trip. I couldn't sleep, and I was feeling sick, and I couldn't even think about eating any food. In fact, I had not eaten for more than 12 hours. During the bus ride, I just crashed and told my friends that I couldn't do it, and that when we got to the capital, I was getting a bus back home. I explained how I was feeling, and one of my friends kind of understood, but the other 2 got really mad. When we got there, we said goodbye to each other, and I went to wait for my bus. Well, they went without me, and I felt like that was for the best because I would just ruin the vacation for them. For the whole week, I texted them every day to know if everything was okay, because I'd been the one planning everything, And when it came to answering those text messages, they were really dry about it. I didn't talk with them for the rest of the month, and they've even hung out several times without me. Recently, one of them, who probably is the most understanding, invited me to go to the bookshop with her, and since I missed them, I said yes. While we were hanging out, I was talking about how I haven't spoken with one of the girls since the trip, and that I was thinking of reaching out and texting her. Well, I did, and she texted the other two about it in a group chat that they clearly have without me involved in it. I tried to explain the situation better to her, but she just said I should have gotten medical help or medicine if I was feeling that bad, and she basically just said that we couldn't be friends anymore. Now, I still paid for my part in everything, and I basically lost out on like $300. But with all things considered, am I the jerk for prioritizing my mental health instead of my friendship by going on this trip? Because right now, I'm not sure if I made a mistake. Okay, in my opinion, I think everybody sucks here, and I want to explain why. First of all, if you knew you couldn't handle this kind of trip, then holy crap, you should not have planned this with these people. Like, this really was one of those situations where you need to be ready to go for 7 hours to make it to this destination. And the fact that you're handling all the stress of, like, I don't know, planning this stuff out, getting tickets, getting travel reservations, all that stuff, and yet you are the one who walks away and like runs off, all because you can't handle it. Like, I don't know about you, but if I was in that group and I saw that happen, I would be like, what the crap is going on right now? Why is she leaving suddenly? Like, she's the person who's planning all of this. So to that extent, I definitely understand where your friends are, where they're like, I can't be friends with you. You literally bailed at the last second on a trip that we planned all year. But on the other end of this, I don't think it's okay for them to be like, wow, you need to like take some medicine. Next time, just suck it up. Because that doesn't sound very friendly. Like, that doesn't sound like good friends at all. If they knew you and if they actually cared about you, then they would know that, hey, our friend here has some really bad anxiety and they're probably gonna have a panic attack. Maybe we should also carry the load here and try and help out instead of putting it all on her back. So I don't know, in my opinion, I think everybody sucks here, and I think everybody has something they did wrong. Because this situation was a massive mess, and I know I would be annoyed on both sides of this situation. An entitled boomer demands that I clean up all the shopping carts left behind by other shoppers inside the supermarket parking lot, saying that I'm the reason these shopping carts are all over the place, despite the fact that I was literally trying to back out my car, and I literally didn't even use a shopping cart when I went into the store, leaving me completely baffled by this idiotic Karen. Here's how it all went down. Okay, so earlier today, I went grocery shopping and I purchased one small bag of groceries without using a shopping cart. When I returned to my car after checking out, a shopping cart was sitting next to my car, pretty much touching it. I got annoyed being that today isn't windy at all, and that the cart seemed to be meticulously placed there, and I knew I would not be able to pull my car out unless I moved the shopping cart. So I just moved the shopping cart onto a grassy median immediately in front of my car. Well, after I moved the shopping cart touching my car, an older woman putting things into her trunk approached me and told me, you know you're supposed to return your cart to the cart corral, right? I then answered affirmatively, and I clarified to her that this isn't my shopping cart, and I just found it here sitting next to my car, so I moved it so that I could pull out. She then proceeded to call me lazy and said that people like me are the reason why parking lots are littered with shopping carts. When she said this, I just ignored her, as this was not my shopping cart, and I always return carts that I personally use to the corral. I then began walking towards the driver's side door of my car when I hear this woman telling another lady in a car who had her signal on to take her parking space, I'm not going to return my cart to the corral. I'll just leave it for you to take. Now, mind you, this woman waiting to park didn't even indicate that she needed or wanted a shopping cart. This boomer woman jumped into her car, started her engine, and then pulled out, glaring at me as she peeled off, leaving her cart in the middle of the street. I'm honestly so confused by this entire interaction, but please feel free to let me know if I was in the wrong, and if I should have just returned the cart to the corral, even though it wasn't mine and I ensured that it was secured in a grassy median as not to be swept away by the wind into another car. Either way, the hypocrisy is astounding, and I honestly can't stand people like this. Dude, I'm right there with you. This is so obnoxious. This Karen literally just wanted to complain about nothing. She saw you moving a cart and said, oh wow, you're the problem. By the way, I'm gonna do the same thing and leave. Gotta go, bye. Like, dude, she literally said and did the exact same thing she was complaining about. Like, talk about stupid. That or she's got like early stages of dementia or something like that. Like, that's just super annoying. So yeah, that lady was completely out of line and had no reason to talk to you like that in the slightest. Today, I messed up by blowing up my date's bathroom, where his toilet got so clogged up and flooded that I literally was standing in like ankle deep water looking desperately for a plunger that he didn't have. And I seriously think I'll never live this down because this was the most horrifying situation of my entire life. Here's how it all happened. Want to start off by saying that yes, I think we all know where this is going already. I've been seeing this guy for like a month, and it's a new relationship and it's really cute and all this other stuff. A huge story storm knocked my power out for a few days, which also meant no bathroom for me. He got his power back before I did, invited me over, and since we hadn't really seen each other in almost 2 weeks, I decided to go. Now everything's fine. We get dinner, we hang out, things are really good. But then it's bedtime vibes. I go into his bathroom to shower and kind of prep a little, but then my body decides, nope, after 3 days of holding out, we're doing this right now. I literally had no choice. So I just sit there and I'm like, okay, fine. First time for everything, I guess. Flush number 1 gives me absolutely no problems. Flush number 2, the toilet makes an evil gurgle like it's laughing at me. And now I'm panicking. I start searching for a plunger, but there's nothing under the sink, nothing beside the toilet, nothing anywhere I can use. I even ran to the kitchen thinking that maybe there's some random one there, but no. He's in the other bathroom showering, so I'm like, maybe if I just flush it again, it'll go down. Well, this was a huge mistake because the third flush turned the toilet into a volcano. There was water everywhere, the towel was ruined, with me trying to stop the flood like an idiot. The bathroom floor is basically underwater, and I'm on the verge of crying while mopping with random towels. He then finishes his shower, and instead of just telling him, I yell something dumb like, oh, I'm just grabbing something from your bathroom real quick. So he doesn't immediately come in. I then finally cave and I ask him, okay, do you got a plunger? But that's when he says no, he doesn't have one. At that point, I'm laughing and crying at the same time while begging him not to come in. I'm on my knees cleaning like a mad woman. Eventually, it looks normal enough, but yeah, there's no way I could even look him in the eye after that. Like the night was just officially ruined. The next morning, I leave, completely mortified. And a couple of hours later, he texts me the following message. I'm going to the hardware store to buy a plunger after flooding the bathroom again. I guess I needed one. And honestly, I wanted to disappear right off the face of the earth. Okay, that is literally like my worst nightmare. Going to someone's house and accidentally destroying their toilet only for them to be like, no, I don't have a plunger. And also, how does this guy not have a plunger, dude? That's like a staple in any household. Are you kidding me right now? You've got to have a plunger. Like, please have a plunger. I can't do this. So honestly, I wouldn't like beat yourself up over this. If he really is caring and like loves you and stuff like that, then he'll look past this and be like, okay, it's not that big of a deal. And from the sounds of it, it doesn't seem like this is something he's ever going to bring up. But regardless, yes, this is definitely a horrifying situation, and I'm so sorry you had to go through that. Am I overreacting at my father-in-law for literally trying to force my wife to drive on the highway for 6 hours right after she had a very bad car accident? Because he says unless we do exactly as he says, we will not be allowed to take his car anywhere even though we really need to use it, leaving me in a situation where I'm very frustrated and I just don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. So my wife was doing a 6-hour drive up to visit my in-laws with my daughter. 2.5 hours into the drive, she got into a car accident which completely totaled our car, and thankfully nobody got hurt. Luckily, I had my sister's car for the next 2 weeks while she was visiting my parents, so I was able to drive up and pick my wife up, deal with the insurance, and then drop her off there all before driving home that same night. My in-laws have 3 cars, despite there being only 2 people in their house, and one of them works from home. They were offering to let us borrow their 20-year-old Buick for a few months to save money and to buy a new car. Now, I was never a huge fan of this because I didn't feel like their car was safe, and because we are financially fine to buy a car now. But regardless, I agreed, because it wasn't that big of a deal and I didn't want to cause a fight over this right after the accident, which my wife was still sad about as it was kind of her fault. Well, now right before she's about to leave, she planned out a trip that would take an additional 4 hours just to avoid the back roads. She would stop halfway and stay with some family and then continue the next. She didn't feel comfortable driving on the highway just yet, but wants to in the future. Well, once my father-in-law heard about this, he said that unless she drove the whole 6 hours on the highway, he wouldn't let her borrow their car. Well, I'm absolutely livid at him right now because there is zero reason for him to demand this. I know my mother-in-law is pissed, but he kind of controls the marriage, and that's a whole other discussion in and of itself. I don't even care about the car. It's just the fact that he's completely ignoring the feelings of his own daughter and brushing them off like it's stupid. So I really need to know, am I overreacting at the fact that my father-in-law is not thinking of my wife and instead trying to force her into something she's not comfortable with? Because right now I really don't know what to do. Okay, first of all, yeah, your father-in-law is crazy. This is a really dumb request, and the fact that he's trying to like enforce it in some way is just so silly to me. But seriously, if I was in your shoes, I would straight up lie to this idiot. I would tell him, oh yeah, don't worry about it, we'll drive the full 6 hours, and then just book a hotel halfway through. Like, there's no way I would ever tell him the truth. I would go do my own thing. Like, what's he gonna do? Does he have GPS on the car? Like, seriously, there's no way he's gonna know what you do and don't do with that car. He's also not about to like follow you wherever you go and be like, okay, get on the highway, I'm gonna make sure you're doing this for the next 6 hours, you better do it. Like, I don't know, maybe he is that level of crazy, but I just can't imagine a rational person spending that much time just to make sure their car goes exactly where they want. Because personally, and yes, I would respect the vehicle, but the second someone says, yes, you can borrow my car, I'm gonna use it for whatever I need to. And if that means taking a 4-hour detour just so I feel safe after a car accident, then guess what? That's exactly what I'm gonna do. And there's literally nothing you can do about it. So yeah, in my opinion, I would absolutely lie to them and I would just be like, oh sure, we'll do it, just to make sure I can get the car and actually use it the way I want to. The other solution is just going there and picking her up. Like, that might be the better of the two evils, because then you can avoid your father-in-law's weird controlling attitude and you can get your wife and get her home and not have to worry about any of this crap. Because I think your father-in-law is being a weirdo and that is not something you should ever have to deal with. An entitled Karen refuses to pick up her dog poop after her dog literally craps in other people's yards. But after she decided to do that one too many times in my yard, and despite the fact that I've given her multiple times to be a better person, I decided to get some revenge by blasting her with automatic sprinklers anytime they came close to my yard, causing her to get water, grass, and a lot of dog poop all over her outfits. And I've honestly never felt better about anything in my life because this Karen absolutely deserved it. Here's how it all went down. I live in a fairly large city with a lot of good dog owners, but every so often we get people, especially right after the pandemic, that are complete jerks about picking up after their dogs. Now, I have a security camera that faces the area where people like to let their dogs go to the bathroom. I'm never around at that time of day, but I can see who's letting their dogs do what in my yard at all times. One lady, who is the entitled Karen of the story, let her dog crap in the sidewalk area of the yard every single day. And no, she never even picked it up. I posted on the neighborhood network, but I got no response. I put signs up asking people to pick up the dog crap, but still nothing changed. My neighbor even screamed out, hey, pick up your dog's crap, lady, but still nothing happened. She still let her dogs go in my yard right in front of my wife's car every single day like clockwork. She told my neighbor once that she didn't have time because she had to walk her dog before she went to work. My neighbor said, that's super rude not to pick up after your dog. But she looked this guy right in the eye and said, well, what are you gonna do about it? And then she walked off. But my neighbor, being the kind person that they are, picked up the dog poop and threw it away from me. And then later that day, they told me about their interaction with this Karen and how rude they were, which is honestly just so baffling. Now, to shift gears, we had a dog not too long ago as well, which is sort of an understatement. We had a 250-pound dog who loved people, they loved dogs, they loved cats, and they loved kids. He was super friendly to everyone, and we left a doggy treat library up in his memory when he passed away 2 years ago of old age. His passing broke me, but the one thing that I learned is exactly how horrible our yard was even before a human-sized dog used it as a laboratory every single day. I've spent some time fixing the lawn by replacing the grass with nitrogen-absorbing plants like microclover and other lawn-replacing plants that are highly resistant to dog urine, because we do intend to get another dog someday. My old boy, when he would go to the bathroom in the yard, he took massive dumps that would reach like 6 inches in height if he stayed in one place. I had a scoop shovel and a 14-gallon bucket half filled with sawdust, like I was some kind of elephant trainer, and I would go around the yard every day to pick it all up. When we went for walks, even when he was like a 90-pound puppy at 4 months old, I took grocery bags with plenty of poop bags with me on walks because he would poop multiple times, and I prefer not to have our neighbors think that a homeless person went to the bathroom on their lawn after we went by. When he passed away, I put up a little free dog treat library along with free baggies for the local dogs and their parents, because honestly, we had a supply of them. He ate as much food a day as the average teenage boy and loved donuts as much as Homer Simpson. He loved asparagus, oranges, as well as the doggy bits from steak. Plus, a dog treat the size of a hand was just normal size for him. The upshot is that what we had on hand when he passed away is roughly 8 times the normal amount a dog parent would have. And I didn't want it to go to waste, so we provided it for free until we ran out. I even have a small bucket nearby labeled that says, if you have dog poop bags, please drop them here. Because the raging debate of whether it's rude to drop tied off dog crap bags in a nearby garbage can rages on the next door list every single year, along with a fireworks conversation that starts at around July 2nd and continues for the next 2 weeks. Now, trust me, there's a point to this, and that's to say that there's absolutely no excuse here from this entitled Karen. On top of that, I had previously met this woman and her dog when I was walking my old boy around the block. She is one of those people who walk their dog while surfing their phone and plugged into a podcast or a call at all times. And her dog is one of those long-haired, fluffy dogs that look like they've been run into a wall multiple times head first. It's also a massive jerk and is aggressive towards other dogs, even ones roughly 20 times its size. Every time we met walking, she barely registered her dog trying to bite mine until I would yell out and be like, lady, control your dog, and had to block it with my body. So, poop bags were available. There were notices. There were people almost saying, hey, knock that off. But Lady Karen was still doing exactly what this Karen wanted to do. So I thought to myself, fine, we can definitely play that game if that's what you want to do. It was here that I started my research by checking my house security camera. She was always there at about 8 o'clock religiously on the dot. We're talking at like 8:02 or 8:03. She did this every workday, every single time, never on the weekends, and never after 8:04 in the morning. She was always dressed in a very nice business casual with expensive shoes and a purse or a sling, but never with any poop bags in hand. Well, I set up one of my RainPoint Wi-Fi enabled automatic sprinkler hose type things and connected 2 high volume, highly visible water sprayers for that grassy area. And I had one on each side. One was facing the sidewalk from the house with some overlap to the sidewalk strip set to a 180-degree semicircle, with the other one in the sidewalk strip facing the house set to the same dispersal pattern. Now, the nice thing about RainPoint is that it's hooked into your house Wi-Fi and you can control it anywhere, anytime, just by pressing a button widget on your phone. You can also set it up to like automatic watering times, but the fact that you can set it off remotely is more important here. So I set the timer to go off at 8:03 exactly and spray for 10 minutes on full blast. And by full blast, I mean I made sure to close off all other hoses and not start the dishwasher or laundry before I left the day at 7 o'clock in the morning. So the full experience was like a blast of water pressure that could be enjoyed by everybody. Well, the next morning, I excitedly turned on my remote viewing of my security camera at work. And here she comes, dressed more nicely than usual in her business casual, walking her aggressive jerk dust mop of a dog, her face in the phone and her earbuds plugged in with the volume up. The dust mop angles his way towards the same spot she always lets him take a crap. He starts to squat and then suddenly, the dual sprays of ice cold water catches her dog in the face and this Karen right at her waist. And this is full blast. The one from the house started first and the one in the sidewalk strip started 10 seconds later. She then stood there screaming on the security camera for 30 seconds. She then stormed across the grass to pick up her dog, who at this point has been turned from a fluffy ball of perfectly groomed dog to a filthy wet mop with extra dirt. And best of all, as she turns to storm away with her dog, she slips on some fresh dog crap that her dog had literally just dropped, which was now getting blasted with water at a very high rate. She lands on fresh microclover that had been lovingly fertilized with composted steer manure from our family farm the day before. So she doesn't get injured, but when she gets up, her very expensive business casual outfit is caked in dog crap, as well as fresh green stains and steer manure. Well, this Karen eventually exits stage left screaming her head off. I then start laughing so hard, my boss has to come out just to ask what's the matter. I then kept a Nextdoor tab up in my browser all day, set to check for new posts from my specific neighborhood with keywords. And trust me, I was not disappointed. About an hour later, I saw a Nextdoor post talking about how horrible people start their watering during the time people are walking their dogs. And yeah, it's the entitled Karen of the story. Someone then replies to her thread saying, well, maybe just walk a different day or just go a little bit later. But of course, oh man, you don't understand. My dog is soaking wet and it ruined his grooming session for the week. Now I have to get him in and get him cleaned up after work. So I think to myself, okay, thanks for the heads up, Karen. The next morning, I tuned into my security camera at work and I had the same timer widget up. I tested it the day before remotely and I made sure the lag time was minimal on both the camera and the sprinklers. And sure enough, here comes the Karen and her stupid dog right on time. She's dressed up in business wear complete with heels and a full suit today, which you know for a fact might be a really bad choice. Now, to her credit, she is a bit leery of my yard, but she is checking her watch and watching the sprinkler. The dog then starts to squat at 8:26 in the morning, and it's right then that I hit the button. My security camera is about 30 feet away behind triple pane glass windows inside a house that we did extra insulation on this last spring. It has a crap microphone that barely picks up anything, but I could hear her scream of rage like a pair of wild foxes in heat running 2 feet from my head. Her dog was turned from a fluff ball to a wet mop once more, but this time he was still mid-crap, so when she grabbed him physically, I could see her trying desperately to avoid the poop torpedoes popping from his butt and flying into the air all across the sidewalk and the walkway to the street. Her phone then clatters to the ground and she breaks a heel stumbling over, with one final dog turd executing a perfect 360 double pike and landing on her blouse. Well, fast forward and the next day was a Thursday, and I popped open my browser to lay in wait. I then watch as this Karen comes down the street once again, absorbed in her phone and dragging her mop of a dog all along behind her. When they get to my house, the dog stops and will go absolutely no further. I see her turn around and tug on his leash, but he refuses. She stops, she looks at the area of the yard where my sprinklers are set up, she looks at him, she pulls at his leash again, and they begin walking towards the same area once more. And just before they get to the outside edge of my property, I turn the sprinklers on again. Now, the 3 seconds of lag means that by the the time they're halfway to their spot that the Karen's standing at, they're about 5 feet inside the spray zone, and this dog darts his way out of there quick enough where she is startled and drops the leash. He runs off back the way they came, where she then runs after him in heels trying to chase after him. Well, fast forward, and that Friday morning, this Karen is nowhere to be seen. The next Monday around 10 o'clock, I see this Karen lady's dog, but he's being walked by a younger woman wearing a t-shirt of a local dog walking service. She stops by my doggy supply library, she smiles, reaches down to pick up the poop, she tucks it in a bag and ties it off, and then walks on with the dog who looks much happier overall. After about 3 months, I no longer see this entitled Karen or her dust mop of a dog anywhere in my neighborhood. I guess she moved somewhere that she and her aggressive jerk of a dog can live in peace and crap wherever they like. Now, I still have the sprinkler set up, but now I tend to set it to run when nobody is around at like 4 in the morning, which is much better than weaponizing it against Karens who absolutely deserve it. Dude, this is some grade A, like, perfect revenge. Holy crap. You thought of everything. You literally laid a trap for this Karen and said, oh, you want to crap in my yard? You want to poop on the sidewalk and leave it all over the place? Cool, man. Let's play that game. That sounds like fun. I can't believe after the first time she wouldn't be like, okay, I'm never coming back here ever again. Let alone the second or the third. Like, dude, take a hint. One time would be more than enough for me to be like, okay, I'm gonna walk my dog anywhere else. In fact, my neighbors calling me out for leaving dog crap everywhere, that would have been more than enough shame for me to be like, okay, I can't do this anymore. I need to figure my life out and become a better person. But no, this Karen just simply refused to give up. They were determined to be a menace to this neighborhood. So to that end, I love the fact that the original poster was so patient about this. They set this up and just waited like a sniper. They refused to give up. Like, I love the determination here. So good for you for getting this Karen put in her place, because this was hilarious. Because if anybody in this situation deserves this treatment, it absolutely is this Karen, because her attitude was horrendous and it needed to be shut down. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to AmITheJerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. My parents are obsessive over my entire life, as they disregard my time, my privacy, and my space, even now into my adulthood. And at this point, I feel so suffocated that I seriously just don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. Okay, to start things out, I'm a 23-year-old female and I've always had protective parents. As far back as elementary and especially middle school, I was sheltered beyond normal levels, to a point where I was and still am far less independent than any of my peers. And I was often encouraged or forced to not learn how to be more self-sufficient. I was never taught how to cook, do laundry, or any basic life skills. I was never allowed to have a bank account, never allowed to spend time with friends, literally anything. A lot of the time, my parents forced me to pull away from my friends because they, especially my mother, were beyond paranoid that my friends were faking liking me and would try to hurt me or get me in trouble. In college, my parents would come to campus multiple times a week for hours at a time, and for the first half of my college years, I was forced to come home every single weekend, so I never had time to make friends or get out at all. Now I'm a college graduate living on my own, with a job and with my own money, but my parents still don't let up. I'm never able to leave my apartment because my parents either text or call, or they'll just come and see what I'm doing. When we're on the phone, we don't even talk. We just sit there in silence for an hour or so, other than like occasional pointless things, and if there's ever a time that I don't immediately respond, they're either in a total panic or just completely outraged. At this point, it's getting to concerning levels. My parents took the spare key to my apartment, only asking after they already took it, and they won't give it back because they say they need the key. And when I expressed that I was uncomfortable with how little privacy I had, I was told, well, sorry, you have a problem with that, and they just completely ignored it. My parents come to see me most days, and sometimes they're just sitting in my apartment not leaving and taking my entire night after I get off of work. So in reality, I don't really get any free time. If I get upset that they take all of my time, I'm just met with them saying, well, what would you have done tonight anyways? Because I'm expected to go to work and then come home and do nothing so that they can take up my time. I have a parking pass for my apartment, and now I'm actually being expected to change it to be set up for their car so they can come up and sit for hours on end. They keep buying me actual junk that fills up my apartment, and I'm not allowed to get rid of any of it or say I don't want it. I'm not allowed to try and socialize outside of them, and most importantly, I'm not allowed to seek treatment I so desperately need for depression and gender dysphoria. Any expression that I'm unhappy is suddenly met with nuclear outrage and screaming, with them screaming by saying I'm unhappy and miserable too. And and we have been for like 30 years. And possibly the worst part is that when I say that I'd like to have more free time to myself, all I get is either, well, I'm sorry, we're just so bad. Or they'll say, well, you're all we have, so you just have to deal with it. So honestly, what do I do right now? Because this is seriously so frustrating. Oh my gosh, there are so many red flags here. First of all, if I was in your shoes, I would not frame this as them being protective parents. This is not protective parenting. This is like obsessive to a degree that is very disturbing. They have no right to sit in your apartment while you're not there. They have no right to put stuff in your apartment or to have a key to it or to have any kind of like parking pass to your complex. Like seriously, this is not something that they have any right to. You're a grown woman. Like you're allowed to have friends. They have no say in the matter. They also can't stop you from going to the doctor. Like these people are so intrusive in your life, it is honestly a little scary. So for me, I would not only contact like the landlord and be like, hey, these people have taken over my life, or at least like reach out to somebody who can help you, like maybe even the police in this situation, but I would make it very clear to as many people as possible that this is my situation and I need help. And for me, I would make sure that my locks are changed, they have no access to my bank accounts or anything like that, while also taking the steps necessary to get the help I need from people around me who really can help in this situation. Because holy crap, this is seriously not normal. This is your apartment, this is your life, and you could do whatever you want. And the fact that they're trying to take that away from you, in my opinion, is very disturbing. My entitled neighbor waits till my fence is fully built to then demand that I move it back 6 feet, all because she misses the view she once had from her kitchen window. But after I tell her no, I'm not going to do that because that's some crazy talk, she starts getting really creepy by literally using a stepladder to watch me over my fence, as she's clearly pissed off that I shut her down in a way that she has never experienced before in her life. Here's what's going on. Okay, so a couple of months ago, I bought my first house. It's nothing fancy, but it's got a small backyard, and one of the first things I did was put up a wooden privacy fence so my dogs could run around without bothering anybody. Well, this is where my next door neighbor, who I will call Linda for the sake of the story, came over the next day after the fence was finished. She was holding a mug like she was about to give me friendly neighborhood vibes, but no, I got the exact opposite. She asked if I would mind moving my fence back by about 6 feet. I asked her why on earth I would do that, and this is where she told me it blocked her view from her kitchen window and she'd like to look out at the trees, and that if I moved it back, I'd still have plenty of yard. Now, I explained as politely as I could that the fence was entirely on my property line, since after all, I had the survey done, and moving it would literally give her 6 more feet of my yard for free. She then said that she had lived here for 15 years and had always had that view, so it was basically hers. But when she said that, I just started laughing. I literally couldn't help it. And then I eventually just said, no, I'm not going to do that. Well, ever since then, she has accidentally thrown her leaves and branches over the fence twice. And last week, I caught her trying to peek over with a stepladder. When I confronted her about it, she actually said to me that if I weren't so selfish, she wouldn't have to do it, which is honestly one of the stupidest things I think I've ever heard her say. Man, I can't stand entitled neighbors, especially ones who are going to try and like sabotage your house all because you did something that they don't like. Like I know for a fact if I was in your shoes, I would probably start like recording her or something like that, because what begins with her throwing leaves and sticks over your fence quickly becomes her trying to like poison your dog or something like that. And someone in the comment section of this post pretty much said exactly what I was thinking. She's not looking at the trees, she is literally busy stalking you. That's all this is really about. She just wants to have the ability to be like, oh yeah, I want to watch what you're doing. Like why else would she have a stepladder to look over the fence and stare at you, saying, oh yeah, you're just being so selfish. If you weren't so selfish, I wouldn't have to get a ladder, now would I? But it's like, lady, you literally showed your hand. You just proved that you don't care about the view and instead you want to watch what I'm doing, which by the way, that's super creepy, lady. Stay away from me, my family. I don't want anything to do with you. So clearly putting up that fence was a really good idea, especially when you've got a new neighbor who's going to act like a complete demon probably for the rest of your time living there. Am I the jerk for refusing to give my sister my Wi-Fi password after she literally gave it out to her boyfriend, who then gave it out to a bunch of people, causing my router to slow down after 7 new devices were found out to be connected to it? Because now she's sulking around and my parents are pissed off at me, and at this point I seriously just don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. I'm a 27-year-old male and I live in a small apartment above my parents' garage, and my 25-year-old sister still lives at home. We've always been fairly close, but lately she's been bringing her boyfriend around constantly. Well, a few months ago, she asked for my Wi-Fi password because the signal upstairs is better. I ended up giving it to her, but a week later, I noticed the internet was sluggish. Well, when I checked my router, I saw 7 new devices connected to it. It turns out she gave my password to her boyfriend just for one night, as she said, but then he gave it to his friends so they could download something really quickly. When I confronted her about it, she laughed it off. She said to me, it's just Wi-Fi. Don't be so dramatic. Well, after she said that, I decided to change the password. And when she found out, she got mad. She told my parents I was being petty, and now they're telling me that I should just share because it's family. Now, when they said that, I said I will happily share if she promises not to give it to anybody else. But she literally refused when I said that. She said, well, I can't control what people do. So with that, I just simply refused. And now she's sulking and my parents are annoyed, and I'm now getting this nasty side eye at dinner. So seriously, I really need to know because this is seriously bothering me. Am I the jerk for not giving her the new password to my Wi-Fi router, since I literally just don't trust her anymore after she gave it away to practically everybody? Because at this point, I really just don't know if I'm in the wrong. Okay, I've got to be honest real quick. This is so toxic, it's not even funny. Your sister is just disrespecting you. Like, that's all this comes down to. Because, like, literally you trusted her to use the Wi-Fi in a way that wasn't intrusive. This was probably like an innocent request, like, hey, the Wi-Fi sucks, can I please use yours? And then you find out, oh yeah, by the way, there's 7 new devices connected to it. Oops, who did that? Sorry about that. Like, are you kidding me right now? That is so obnoxious. And it's so funny to me that she's trying to be like, oh, don't be so dramatic. I can't control what people do. This is not my fault. But it's like, no, it is your fault. It's literally your fault that the password got out to everybody. She's trying to sit there and be like, well, my hands are clean to the situation. But if she had not given the password out to her stupid boyfriend, then all of his friends wouldn't be on the network, literally slowing down the connection. Like, how is that fair at all for the original poster? They're the one paying for the Wi-Fi. Why should they have to suffer because their sister is irresponsible? Like, I just don't understand that. That really is so super annoying. So no, you're definitely not the jerk here. I would absolutely deny her from ever having my Wi-Fi password pretty much ever again for the rest of my life. She clearly can't be trusted with it, and she's just gonna give you the runaround, and chances are the boyfriend's gonna get it again, and then this cycle's just gonna continue. So in my opinion, I think you should cut the head off the snake and say absolutely not, because your sister doesn't sound responsible in the slightest. Thanks for watching. Subscribe down below if you haven't already. And also, please subscribe to Am I the Genius? I think you're going to love what they're making over there. It's a great channel, and you should definitely check it out. Everything will be linked down below in the description. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.